You're up to date.
Anybody sick?
All right, are you ready?
No.
Temperature. Killing me.
Yeah, I'll just,
Sweating like a pig.
it's hot out. Just trying to get this thing started. Having fun with it.
14th. Is that the right one?
Hmm.
There's another one for H and I, both 14th. Okay.
Are we on the air yet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what's going on? Is that why it's so crazy? And everything's a deadline and.
Monday was Tuesday and Monday, and Wednesday was party Thursday, and now
Perfect.
It's back to Monday today.
Works good all day.
I'm done with Mondays. I've had more Mondays this week than I could ever tolerate.
45 days less the whole year. Well, 50 weeks of vacation, I'm probably gonna lose. I know, it's
Okay.
crazy. I mean,
It's October 15, 5 p.m. We'll call our meeting to order. And the first item is our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steven Grunwald.
Are you
Join the meeting.
Ernest is going to prayer.
All right.
Ernest, tell us is our new front desk admin. He's been with us for about a month, right? Month and a half. Yeah.
Good.
I love this.
Guys ready?
Yes.
Just bow your heads, please. We seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank
Short
you
and
so
sweet.
much.
All right. Item number 4 is our public hearing. We'll conduct a public hearing on the following. 4A is a final plat, 2022-6/8. Plat of Sunflower Beach, PUD Unit 2A, Block 3, lots 9 through 32. Being a replat of Lot 9B, Block 3, Sunflower Beach PUD Townhomes, a map of which is recorded in volume 69, pages 160 through 162. Map records of Nueces County, Texas. Applicant is Kingstone Beach Ltd. Property location is 200 block of Access Road 1, Sunflower Beach PUD. And item B is a final plat of 2022-69, a plat of Sunflower Beach PUD Unit B, 2B, Block 5, lots 15 through 28, being a replat of Lot 5S, Block 5, Sunflower Beach PUD Townhomes, a match of which is recorded in volume 69, pages 160 through 162. Map records of Nueces County, Texas, and the applicant is Keystone Beach Ltd. Property location is 200 block of Access Road 1, Sunflower Beach PUD. Item 5, citizen comments. Do we have any?
Council, while she's talking, I wanted to introduce our new building official, Don Pratt. Don, I say new, but in a sense, he's not. He's been with the Bureau Veritas team that's been helping us really ever since the hurricane. And Don's been probably the one that's been the predominant one that we've had here for the last year, or just about. Anyway, comes to us with great credentials. We were lucky that BB allowed him out of his agreement with them. And anyway, so like I said, we're real glad to have Don with us, and he hit the ground running. And I've not heard too many negative things, so I got to get him a little tougher because they're not complaining, he's not tough enough on us.
That's right.
Anyway, Don, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yes.
The mayor is calling for city, citizen comment. Anybody want to comment or provide a citizen comment right now? No citizen comments. I didn't have any that were emailed in either.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. Hearing no citizen comments to our consent agenda. Item C is the city council meeting minutes of June 18, July 16 and 29, August 6 and August 13. I hear a motion.
Motion to approve as stated.
Second.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Fallline,
Yes.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Villa.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Items for consideration, item number 7. Item D is a resolution approving the Second Amendment to the development agreement for a hotel conference center with the Inn, Spa, and Conference Center, LP, designating the hotel subject to this agreement, an amendment as a hotel that is part of a qualified project to which subchapter C of chapter 351 of the Texas Tax Code applies, extending said agreement for an additional 2 years term ending December 31, 2022, authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with this said agreement.
Okay, so the proposal before you, as the mayor read, is a 2-year extension to the hotel motel convention project, which would extend the, currently I believe that it ends this December, and it would extend it 2 years until December 31st, 2022. So we do have, Mr. Lampkin is with us today. So I'm going to let Jeff come up and kind of give him he can give an update and break into the topic. Yes.
I got a question just quick.
Yeah.
I know we got a letter from Mr.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he said
Devin,
they're asking for an 18-month extension. Is that related to this 2-year extension?
It's the same thing. It's
Okay,
the same
so
thing.
They're asking for 2 years, and even though he was only asking for 18, is that for 18 months? I'm a little confused about timeline there, and that's why I was.
It's up to you guys to.
Sure.
It doesn't really matter because it's up to you guys to decide what you want to give.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, either one, or some, or
That's fine.
hybrid. You guys come up with
There
yourselves.
was a discrepancy, and I just didn't understand
Yeah,
what the discrepancy was, or
yeah.
so. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Jeff-
So I'll turn it over to Jeff, and I'm gonna let Jeff sit here just so that Joan can probably. Joan, let me know if it's better with Jeff sitting there.
Okay. If he has a presentation, is it going to come up where I can see it or not?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have a presentation. Devin put together a package for you. I just want to kind of come and sit down and give you guys a formal update on what we're doing and give you guys the next step. So first I'd say Mayor, City Council, City Manager, staff, appreciate you taking time and allowing us to come visit with you today. So we are making really good progress. I mean, the reason for the extension is really tied primarily into the hotel industry as a whole, that the financing as it sits in the larger banks, everybody's very skittish would be the easiest word to use. So RevPAR, and I think Devin sent a bunch of backup information on different studies as well. RevPARs everywhere else are really down. The good news is Cinnamon Shore is doing extremely well. Our RevPARs are higher than they've ever been. We're exceeding our budget by about 40% on our anticipated occupancy with only, well, on the same number of houses we plan to have. And we anticipate that to continue. Devin is also performing really well. He struggled pretty hard, like a lot of people in the early months. But in the last few months, he's really gotten his stuff together. So his Staybridge property's up to 101 RevPAR last month, and his Embassy Suites is up to 130 rooms. So the financials for us to be able to go forward are solid. We're moving forward on the actual development planning. So since we got together, maybe last month or the month before, we've been trying to figure out the transition plan, which seems like a small deal, but it took me a little while to sort through it. So we can get from the water level at 5 feet up to the pad site that we want to have to build the hotel at, call it 11 feet, maybe even 12 or 13 feet above sea level, and do that within a 25 to 30 foot radius. And so the way we got that solved, we got Jim Urban actually under contract now to work on getting engineering plans put together for that and come back with all the cost estimates. But it's going to work out much like if you look at the Island Moorings marina site there. They have a floating dock that goes down towards water level. You have a little step up to get you 2 or 3 feet up to the 5 foot where the walkway would be. Then we'll do a 12-foot walkway with pavers and sub-base below it that'll pull back. Then we'll do a retaining wall that's about bench height. So you can sit along it as you go for the entire length of the phase 1 marina project. That can then have a planter bed behind it. And then behind that, you'd go up your extra 5 feet or 4 feet, whatever you need to get to the pad site where the hotel would happen. And we can do all that within a 25 to 30 foot radius. And that information's, let's say it's 90% figured out as of 2 days ago. Like that's how close we are in the actual progress timeline for figuring out how to do it. And so once we have that completed, which we'll have a lot of progress on that in the next couple of weeks from Jim, then we take the hotel site that we had, or the hotel that we designed, which should fit within there. We can plan the rest of the streets and do the rest of the site development, getting from conceptual into real land plan at that point in time. And so just to be realistic, we're pushing forward as far as we can. We did share a timeline with you. It's my objective to try and exceed that timeline. And I think there's 6 or 9 months worth of that. We would love to pull it forward to the summer in advance of that timeline for completion. It is a long project, and we're also looking at a number of different methods of construction with concrete construction, about what the best may do. We've got one that may be materially stronger than some of the stuff that we've seen in the past. And lumber prices have increased so much, they've gone up like 60% in the last couple, 2 or 3 months. So the concrete's not as big a gap as it was going from wood to concrete as we'd planned originally. So we're making a lot of progress. We have one formal request is that we would ask for an extension to give us time to make this real and to get through it. And whether it's 18 months or 24 months, our intent is to hopefully get through the election, which we see as kind of a pivotal moment. We think the world's going to I don't know what it's going to do, no matter who gets elected for some period of time, but you're going to have a 90 days of chaos-ish period. And then coming out of that, the world has to go back to some sense of normal at some point in time. And so in our kind of opinion, it's probably the first quarter, second quarter of next year, we should be able to go forward and lock in all the financing.
One bit.
I have very little concern about our getting the financing because our intention is to overcapitalize the project with equity. So we're not going to go out and be asking for like a 90% or 80% loan to value. We're probably looking more like 60 or 65, 70 most to get to a, one, that's just how I like to do business, is I'd rather have less risk in projects. So it's not a matter of if I win or lose, it's win. You maybe don't win as big, but you win and you don't lose. So that's kind of our plan, is to overcapitalize it, which is to help us get the thing done. And so I'd say that's all the official action item for today. One other request that we have that we would like to talk with you about is that we would like to have a conversation with maybe a subset of the council and maybe come back next month if it's appropriate to say, aren't we designing the hotel the right size? And I can argue both sides of it. So I would just like to slow the world down for a minute and say, if we shrunk it by 20%, you go to 140 rooms instead of 175, is that a more appropriate size for Port Aransas today? And I don't really have a firm opinion one way or the other, but I think it's certainly worth a moment of stopping and having a conversation and making sure that we're all agreed on, smaller place will be full more and I'll have more overflow into the city. That said, we're fully committed to go forward with 175, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad size, but I would just like to show you some hotels, and it's probably worth a conversation. And then if this subcommittee was to think that it made sense to come back and request a 20% reduction or 10% or, I don't know, I think the doc says plus or minus approximately 175 rooms.
I don't have it in front of me.
And I don't know what approximately means, but
I just want to be careful on this and not interrupt. I feel that we have already made some allowances, like we let you change the location, changing the time. I just think if we keep changing everything, we have basically, we're at a whole new project, and maybe it'd be better to start over than it would be just to, but I mean, I'd love to sit down and talk with you sometime.
Okay.
So,
And I understand that and totally respectful of that opinion. So and we're happy to go forward as is with 175. It's, 25 rooms is the difference.
Sure.
It's not a make or break deal.
well, I said, I'd happy to sit down and talk with you, and if whoever else wants to join, that'd be great. Cause like I said,
Why don't you put it on your agenda to come back and let's discuss it more.
Okay. Should it be the whole group, or should we just get a subcommittee of you
council
guys?
meeting.
Yeah. What's that?
At the council meeting.
At the council meeting?
yeah, we really gotta kind of, I mean,
Get the whole council.
yeah, I think that there's already enough, like, we're doing this backhanded kind of rumors that I would rather just, let's,
Okay, then what I'll do is I'll talk with Devin and we'll get comfortable. And if we think that's even really worthy of a conversation,
sure.
then we'll put it on the agenda and come back and see you. Otherwise, because our next step is to figure out, we got to go push forward with the architectural plans and pushing towards the building set. We have a hotel drawn at 175.
Sure.
So if we push forward there, it's easier. If we're going to shift a little bit, then we need to go back and do some refresh where we are. So
Sure.
I'll talk to Devin, and I guess he and I collectively, because he's more the hotel expert than I am, then we'll follow back up. But regardless, we'll follow up and give you a heads up on it. We may just push forward as we are.
I think
we should bring in the new chamber CEO
Yeah.
and on that too.
I agree.
Agreed. Okay, so we'll put that on our agenda for the next week or so to kind of figure out, come back with a firm recommendation, one way or the other.
At
So
the
we
July 16th, Jeff, when we were talking about the Transition Act, there was a number 2 said extending our agreements until the end of 2021, and it's talking about basically what you went over about large expenses associated with the project, duration time. So is 12 months too short, or you feel like you're on an extension, you'd rather have the 24 months, or?
Well, here's really the thinking on it, that our intention is to get it done within 12 months, but we don't want to come back, keep asking for favors. And the economy is a pretty big variable out there today. And depending on how the election goes and where things shake out in the hotel financing as a whole, people's interest coming back to big cities, and that we thought to give time for that to sort through was probably more appropriate to do it one time. So we're on the same page, like I'm pushing forward very fast.
Sure.
My intention is to get the land planning done on the marina site. We have basically sold everything we have for sale and everything we can put on the ground in the next 6 months. We have under contract. So it's a really good market. People want to buy. We want to go forward. And so selfishly, I would love to get the marina side launched and validated and real while the market's hot, because it's hard to pull a new project out of the ground. And it comes with tens of millions in risk every time we do a new from north to south to the marina. So I would, as fast as I can know I'm putting streets on the ground, would love to have a for sale sign and get some homes sold so it looks like a real place.
Well, I'm going to tell you kind of different thing, and just what he was saying. I don't have a problem if we're seeing progress of, you come back every 12 months and give you an extension if we're seeing progress. I just don't want to, what I don't want to see is we say, 2 years, and then, 700 days from now, you come back and say, man, I need another 2 years, because it seems like we're just kicking the can down. So either we do it or we don't. And so, and I understand you're not making any money having a vacant property there either. So yeah, you got to get it going. But I don't have a problem, and I can't speak for us council of, you come back in 12 months and, you say, look, I got all this progress. Here's the plans, and we're like, yeah, man, 12 months, no problem. What I don't want to do is just keep kicking it down and nothing ever happens.
In this extension request, rather than come back every 12 months, can we not put within the request some deadlines for some of these items that were highlighted in the timeline, so that can be the call, if you will? I mean, in the timelines you provided, obviously there's some pretty broad ranges and dates, but to Bruce's point, to satisfy council, because I do think that, we as council have been on this train for a while, right? Just like you have, and there's nobody can control what happened with COVID. I mean, it's a very real thing, and it's done.
And a big year.
Yeah, it's been huge, right? And I totally understand the skittish lenders, if you will, on massive conference center hotel projects. Although I think that Port Aransas is still a great location for one, based on all the things you've said, what's been happening in the Port Aransas market. But if there's a way in this request to say, 2 years is granted, 18 months is granted. However, at the end of 6 months, we need to see, your performance on engineering plans, that kind of thing. To where if you weren't doing, so 6 months down from road, you still have nothing done, right? I mean, then we kind of get a pullback or a reset to where we can, and then I'm not saying that that's the right number, 6 months, but maybe it's 12 months.
Right.
Maybe at the end of the first 12 months in this 2-year extension, we want to see, or you would have been provided to, David and staff, your engineering plans, your, XYZ, so that we know that there is progress shown. And you've been very good about updating this. I'm not saying that you haven't been doing that, but that I think would give us some confidence that we know things are moving forward. And if you have done nothing, period, in 12 months, then maybe that's our out.
Yeah.
And I don't need that it's a real out, but maybe it's a way for us to stop and say, okay, look, we gave them 2 years, but it's been 12 months and they've done nothing.
Yeah, and so I want to make sure we're clear, like, we're already hundreds of thousands
Sure.
of hours into the planning process. So it's not like we're not doing something. And so where we
Right.
stand is we had to tighten up the land plan. And quite frankly, my land plan is pretty lean. And a lot of other people have tapped into using here in the market. So the 2 projects I've got him working on are trying to get our next phase on the beach side, which I have to get done quickly because we're trying to get those to lots. Then he's going straight to the marina and pushing that with the planning, but we had to get the civil engineering piece sorted out at the same time. So all of that's kicking in the next 30 days. And that's hundreds of thousands in work. And then the architecture plans, we just have to commit to the size. Because once we commit from where we are, we're probably 150,000 in architecture plans now, and that's probably a $700,000 design project, right? And we're ready to, and I want to push it forward because I'm ready to go. So it's, but I mean, I would ask for, a year or 18 months, whatever you feel comfortable with. I mean, we're really pretty easy.
Well, I mean, I don't see a problem going 2 years just with some, like Wendy said, even some performance things in there. And I'm even happy to let, David or Rick pick those points, just something that we feel comfortable with, just that we can see that it's actually going forward.
Okay, so how about if we say,
I just wonder if we have a shorter time, if that would not make you put more effort and energy into it. If we say a year, what difference would that make? I know you're trying to do it, but maybe you try even harder to do it, right?
thank you, Ms. Jones. Yeah. We are, I mean, to be honest, it's not a matter of not wanting to try hard. It's really a matter of making sure that the market does recover, which you guys know I'm an optimist.
I don't think right now I can do it on the fly and hammer out some ideas. I think it would take Jeff and I a month to figure out some deadlines and bring it back to you guys.
And do you own the land, or you're in contract to close on the land?
So we don't own the land yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're closing on it. We have until mid-July to actually close on the land.
Okay.
That said, my intention is, and we're working pretty hard right now, to have it closed in advance of the election. Because like everything else, I'm like, my biggest concern, the risk to the deal is that the bank stops being a bank. So I've actually got a backup lender in place in case the first lender falls apart because of, who knows what happens in the election, and then some of their higher ups change the rules. So we went out and secured a second lender, and I'm trying to go ahead and just close it now because I'd like to, but they're amending the survey and the title commitment came in this week and a couple exceptions we got to work through. But hopefully in 2 weeks it'll be ours. Just kind of de-risk the project for us.
Mm-hmm.
So city staff, are you okay with putting like performance clause in there? And you said you would take you next month? Would we make that an action thing? You come back next month with performance things?
You don't really need to take any action. Just direct me to do it.
Okay.
Bring it back.
Okay. I feel comfortable with that.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that I guess we would table it, but direct the city staff to work with Mr. Lampkin on performance things and for a 2-year renewal.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second?
Yes.
Carver, second.
I'll
Shannon
second.
just did.
Councilmember Crawford.
Shannon said second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Can't hear.
Sorry. I'm messed.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Mayorperson Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon.
Yes.
Councilmember Owen.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Bia.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Sir.
Thank you
you.
very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, item number E, or item E.
Rick, you want to sit here for these? It's probably
the final
easier.
plat
because I think John
on
did.
2268. Discuss, take action to approve
Bye,
final
Daniel.
plat. You here? You ready? Of Sunflower Beach PUD Unit 2A, Block 3, Lots 9 through 32, being a replat of Lot 9, Block 3, Sunflower Beach PUD Townhomes, map which is recorded in volume 69, pages 160 through 162. Map records of Nueces County, Texas. Applicant is Kingstone Beach, LTD. Property location is 200 block of Access Road 1, Sunflower Beach PUD.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So this item and actually the next one are very similar in nature, and they reflect what we see often with our larger planned unit developments down south, which is the phasing, the phase growth, and each additional phase typically requiring a replat, and that's what you have here. You have an area that is just now ready for development, and they are coming in with the replat. In this case, the original lot, single lot, I think was perhaps earmarked or thought to be townhomes at some point. But again, is we recognize the market conditions change. The products, as long as it's within the nature of the planned unit development, which again is pretty broad, but residential and mixed use is typically within the flexibilities that define the very nature of a planned unit development. So that's what we have here. We just have the next ready area to be developed, which this one that we're talking about right now includes 21 lots, I believe, in this phase, single family lots, as you see on the diagram in your packet and on the screen. Planning and zoning approved, as it is consistent with our plating regulations, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, I have a question on Triton Lane. Shouldn't there be like a hammerhead or a turnaround at the end or the west side of that road?
I can tell you that all of these we have now started to forward to our fire marshal for review. So I know these have passed that test. Okay. So I can tell you that we probably could do a better job of adding that to the packet.
Oh,
It's on Triton, the one closest to Access Road 1.
Right. I believe that lot 3, that's the roadway.
I believe it is.
Okay.
So I think.
Well, it's not marked here, but that's.
It's not marked there, but that's a.
Okay.
That's a pull through.
Okay.
And this, there's one other note that if you'll note, the gas department did request an easement through lot 21, block 6, just outside the access road. That was the way the motion was approved through planning and zoning. Again, if the pleasure is to approve this, then again, I'll just repeat the language, but it is to require a 10-foot utility easement be added across lot 21, block 6, just outside the access road.
So they're actually taking 10 foot off of the base of the line closest to Access Road 1.
Correct, right, just outside that.
Do we need to add that to the motion, or is that already in there?
It's not in there.
Okay.
But I would ask that it is included.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the plat with the addition to a 10-foot easement on lots 21 to the side of the Beach Access Road 1.
Second.
Second.
Call road, please.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Conley,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Booyan,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Joan.
Joan, you there?
Yes. Yes. You don't hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm here.
F as a final plat, 2022-69, which is, I guess, part of what we just discussed. Rick, do you want to go ahead and?
Yes, Mayor. So this is just another area that's now being replatted for the continued development of Sunflower Beach. And this additional area to be replatted consists of 12 residential lots. So pretty much just as the previous description, there was no reservation of easements, all the utilities approved. So it is consistent with our platting ordinances. Staff, planning and zoning approved, staff recommends approval.
Questions? Your motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Fahrenheit,
Yes.
Mayor Buda.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item G is a dune permit, 2014-68. Discussion takes action to confirm that application BFDP 21468 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The proposed permit will allow the construction of a single-family residential home and associated residential improvements. The applicant is Chijoke Oakbu. Proper location is 2096 Marco Lane. I'm sorry, Sandpoint.
Sandpoint Circle, correct. Thank you, Mayor. And I know the engineer that prepared it is here, Daniel, or was here. So,
Yeah, he was.
so he's not here. But this is a pretty straightforward request. So this is in the Sandpoint subdivision, again off of shoots off Anchor Drive off of 11th Street. And again, a little bit older subdivision. This is one of the more seaward lots, as you'll see up there. But the proposed construction would impact a critical dune to the tune of about 27 cubic yards. So again, this did require a full dune permit for that impact, but compensation was appropriately addressed. Reviewing engineer felt that it was consistent with our dune management plan. Planning and zoning approved, and staff does recommend approval.
I just had a question. Looks like on the back of the lot, is there enough? Are they just adding to the big tall dune? Because it looks like there's not enough on their property to mitigate. There's not enough room for them to mitigate.
27 cubic yards is not.
That's four dump truck loads.
But in the scheme of things, it's probably not. So if you'll look at the mitigation site, they've identified where they are going to.
Yeah, it looks like it's just they're adding to the peak of the dune.
Correct.
I just thought all the thing had to be done on their own property, or is lot 34R like a shared?
Part of the shared, it's a shared subdivision lot.
Okay. Okay.
So with that approval, then
okay,
GLO doesn't take objection to it.
That's fine.
I do think you have.
Yeah, see, it's you can see it right on the.
Well, if you go
part of their
page 102 in the packet.
Yeah, this feature here is the subdivision's dune walkover, and then this little extension here is an accessibility access corridor that they can use. So it is part of the subdivision, and it is a common lot in the subdivision.
Yeah, right there. So
yeah,
the green part's what they're moving, and the blue part's where it's going to go.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
So they're adding volume to the existing dune complex.
Yes. Which, like I said, in the scheme of things is, again, with two engineers preparing these typically is deemed good compensation.
Sure. It was just more of a question of, it just seemed like I thought the thing had to go on their own property.
When it's not a common element like that, and you find that in some of the NUDs and in these types of divisions, there would have to be permission. It's more unusual.
Okay.
But like I said, he does have an undivided equal interest in that property, and they agree.
Yeah, and if it was state land, we would require the state to sign off.
Right, sure.
Since it's HOA land.
Okay.
And we did get our comments back from General Land Office, and although there's several comments, they're very routine, normal boilerplate comments.
Sure.
Any other questions? Or motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Donnelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item H is a no dune permit, BFDP 2024-61. Discuss and take action to confirm that application BFDP 2024-61 is consistent with the city's management plan, coastal management plan. Proposed permit will allow for the closure of the parking space under the existing single-family structure. The applicant is Marco Polo Properties, LLC, via Tom Culp. Property location is 299 Marco Lane.
Thank you, Mayor. So this property is out in the Beach Walk in UD, one of the more seaward lots there. An older home that did have an enclosed rear party area, partial concrete, just partial unimproved surface. And so this no dune permit, since there's no critical dunes within that area, literally underneath that back area, underneath the structure, there is no impact. However, the way our coastal management plan is currently, it's in its current form, requires that even no impact to critical dunes requires a permit such as this because it's within the 1,000-foot protection area. So again, that there are a couple of criteria that's required, distance from mean high tide, erosion distances, but really there is no impact. So they do intend to enclose that downstairs area, and then elevate a bathroom actually underneath that area. So again, bottom line is there's no impact, hence that staff did support, planning and zoning did approve the no dune permit. Staff supports it. We got a late letter from General End GLO, which I think each of you have, again, that the 11th hour did make it our way. It approved it as well.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
What's the elevation under the house? Is it going to be low or is it still pretty high under there?
No, the elevation is still relatively low. They are elevated, but they have enough height between the grade and the actual existing structure above to elevate. And again, we've not seen the plans. We just know that that's the intent is to put a bathroom, but and a sleeping room, including a bathroom. But they have the height to do so. So again, the building permit, they'll still have to meet the FEMA finished floor elevation requirements. So and they are in a, and I think Wendy was getting to this, they are in a BE zone. Yeah. So they also understand that the construction will have to meet that, but they'll utilize the existing pilings, which again, engineers will have to substantiate and support that, but there'll be no structural slab. The proposal of the work below, again, will have to be non-structural. So the existing structure is already supported on pilings. Whatever they do underneath, habitable-wise, will have to be the same.
And it has to come back for review once they get the plans.
The building, yeah, right. This still requires a building permit.
Right.
Which has to be reviewed and meet all the criteria for finished floor elevation, building codes. They've got to get the ceiling height. But they came in and discussed it with us to ensure that they could do that. And based on what they have talked to us about, they could. But we've just not seen that yet.
So I guess the cut to chase is the concrete is above the whatever the base elevation.
It's simply flat. It's not structural. It's not good. It won't support the structure that they intend to propose to build. The pilings itself will do that.
And this is just for the no dune permit, and
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have questions too, but that's not for this discussion.
Correct. That's same as like.
VE zone construction is pretty tough, and they understand, and we always emphasize that when we see it, that they've got to meet it.
Any other questions? Motion,
Motion to approve.
second,
Second?
all row,
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Briana.
yes. Okay, item I is a no dune permit. BFDP 2024-62. Discuss and take action to confirm that application BFDP 2024-62 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The proposed permit will allow the construction of a second-story deck addition. Applicant is Susan and John Lykovich. Property location is 4903 Highway 361, Unit 711.
This is kind of interesting only in as much as it's simply a request for a second story expanded deck. But it's within the 1,000-foot protection line. Clearly will have no impact on any critical dunes. I think there's a photo that you see of the rock landscaping, the pervious surface landscaping. So the deck will simply be above that. But nonetheless, our processes require that they still come ensure that there's no dune. So that's the nature of this application, is that just a deck that will wrap around on the second story above the already mitigated, flattened, no dune rear area. And that's what this one is. So
I have a really dumb question. It's not related to this, but say there was a big critical dune there and they made their 2-deck thing and they put in 4 posts to make it go out further. Would there be mitigation for those 4 posts?
More than likely it would be what a temporary impact, which means that they might damage or alter a dune during the construction and then would put it back. But even driving in the pilings, if there were a critical dune, would require a dune permit.
Right.
Although there'd be a minimal impact.
Sure. It just is, okay.
Yeah. But like I said,
it is what it is.
It is. Yeah. Any work in the dunes requires one or the other. So it's, it's a safeguard.
Motion to approve.
There a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Briana.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item J is an ordinance. First reading, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 3, traffic regulations on specific streets by adding new Division 6, Section 2396, enforcement of traffic laws in private subdivisions and our private roads to allow for Port Aransas Police Department to enforce traffic regulations in private subdivisions and on private roads, providing for an effective date, reading, publication, and severance.
Thank you, Mayor. So Chief's on board here. So like I said, Chief and I have kind of worked on this a little bit. So the kind of the backstory is that PD was getting more and more requests to enforce certain traffic regulations in these subdivisions that utilize private streets, private property. That poses some legal challenges, for our police to enforce some of those traffic regulations. It creates some problematic circumstances. But the Transportation Code 542-008, I believe that you have a copy of, does have a provision where if 25% of the owners petition the police to be their enforcer, it can be done. But each one of those requests then would have come to council as a separate ordinance and required 3 readings to be in effect. So we talked and Chief had the idea that we could probably, facilitate what we anticipate to be more and more requests in a little bit simpler fashion. So that what this ordinance does is if approved, it would allow, with the proper criteria, essentially the 25% signatories, that request to be approved by resolution for at a single on a single reading. And so that's basically what this does. It just creates an ordinance that regulation of this type of traffic on private streets, private property, could be facilitated with the proper transportation code criteria at a single reading and a single resolution. Chief, if you're there, is that pretty much the?
Yes, that's exactly it. The issue we run into with these private subdivisions is the streets are private, and the traffic laws do not apply on them any more than they would if your grandkids were driving your tractor across your pasture there. So there is that provision that allows us to enforce. The primary complaint we're getting, of course, is golf cart and parking related, and this would allow us to enforce golf cart and parking laws and any other traffic laws the HOA chooses.
But it still has to be authorized by the HOA.
The HOA has to request, and they have to provide whatever criteria as per 54208 transportation code, which right now is 25% of property owners request that, sign some petition or form requesting that we now enforce it. It's not automatic, so they have to request it. But once done, and once with the proper documentation, it still comes to you, and it's a single reading.
Sure. It just seems like we're taking over the HOA's responsibility of enforcing their own rules, like no parking golf carts in the middle of the right of way. And now it's our police doing it instead of the HOA and finding.
Right, but here's their argument, and I think it's certainly one to think about, is that they pay the same taxes as those on the
right
for those same services as I do on a non-HOA property. The HOA has more authority in some instances to be more restrictive. And some choose to do so, but that's been part of what we've heard is they say, well, why can't we get the same level of services as our neighbors? Well,
it's private.
Well, but this is the way to, like I said, this is the way to do that. That's I'm just telling you the argument that,
I understand.
that they put forward.
Yeah, I mean, they got kids driving golf carts throughout the neighborhoods. I mean, it needs to be cleaned up.
How many HOAs do you think you're going to hear from? Right.
And here's the flip side. They enforce it. We write more citations. Possibly.
To Chuck's point, how many private subdivisions do we have? 10?
Yeah, you have two beach walks, two Mustang Royales,
Cinnamon Shore, private marina,
South, Pamia,
private marina,
Porpoise Point,
yeah.
Paradise Valley.
So maybe 10, 12 at the most.
Yeah.
But some of those are fairly large. I mean, and there's
and keep in mind the new one that we just requested, or the one that we made clear, we weren't going to take possession of those roads. They weren't going to dedicate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like we got to make sure, just because our cops could start ticketing, that the city's not taking responsibility of maintaining their roads.
Strictly, if you'll read it,
no,
strictly
but
enforcement.
Some people may think that.
Right.
Just
like
so
we don't do their drainage.
We can vocally say that.
We don't maintain their roads.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good deal for the city.
Yeah. And I wrote this I wrote this specifically as enforcement of traffic laws.
No, yeah.
So that's.
No, I think it was.
We're not going to be enforcing the other HOA like, hey, the garden's not cut.
We don't.
Well, I know, but this is.
I know. No, it's good. It's good discussion. Strictly enforcement of traffic laws in private subdivisions and/or private roads.
Right, and the traffic laws have to be on the books as either a state law violation or a city ordinance violation. There aren't specific traffic laws for the specific subdivisions. And any costs associated with like doing signage is going to be borne by those subdivisions also.
Yeah, good point.
So Channel Vista, that's not a subdivision. That's a city.
Right.
What about like, we're not going to enforce behind gated communities such as Cinnamon Shore, Beach Walk is a gated community. So we're still have to go out there through the gates and write kids tickets.
But right, if they request it, but keep in mind we still do that. It doesn't negate our authority over life safety issues. fire code,
Sure.
other things. We still can enforce those. And chief, certain alcohol violations as well. But it's just, usually those are sometimes consistent with other violations. Again, and with it being private roads, it just becomes problematic. So, but I don't think
run into are the streets themselves, because the traffic laws all apply to public roadways, and these are not public roadways by definition. But the public areas for like alcohol violations fall under a different set of criteria. So we can enforce in public areas for alcohol violations, disorderly conduct, those types of things, even in private subdivisions. But because the streets themselves are private, we can't enforce traffic laws on them.
so gated or not, we're out there doing certain enforcement already.
We're already doing that with Beach Walk. I think it was Beach Walk that one of the subdivisions has already approached us about striping with the fire lanes within their subdivision. So even without this ordinance, we can do the fire lane enforcement on private streets.
I make a motion to pass. I make a motion to first reading amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Article 3, traffic regulations on specific streets by adding new Division 6, Section 23-96, enforcement of traffic laws in private subdivisions and or private roads, to allow for Port Aransas Police Department to enforce traffic regulations in private subdivisions and on private roads.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, call roll.
Neighbors and Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Conway.
Yes.
Councilmember Owen.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Mayor Villa.
Yes. Item K is a resolution
I feel like we did
adopting an amendment to the 2020 fee schedule, which was adopted on June 18, 2020, by amending building department fees, changing calculations for residential building permits, adding modifying fire review, plumbing, mechanical, electrical fees, and providing for severance and setting effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. So this has been a long time getting to you guys. We've struggled early with the formula, and then of course COVID hit. So the genesis of this really was House Bill 852 that eliminated a municipality's ability to charge permit fees based on valuation, which I would venture to say 99% of all jurisdictions had utilized that method for calculating your permit fees. So the challenge for us is that we have $1.5 million homes and we have $400,000 homes, $350,000 homes. The other challenge is that you have a 1,500 square foot home in a different location that's 800,000. You have that same 1,500 square foot house in another location and it's 300,000. So our goal was, and the challenge and the mission is to generate the same level of revenue that we had been generating based on a valuation approach, with now this widely varying list of variables that we had to work with. And there was no other municipality to go to look at, because nobody else had those same dilemmas. So ultimately, what again, going through the last 3 years of permit fees and doing comparisons and spreadsheets that looked at all sorts of different ways, what I finally struck on is that the houses that ended up being those ones with higher values usually had more bedrooms, more bathrooms. Well, when you're reviewing a property, our building official and staff, when you review that, there's a little bit more involved in the review when you look at a bedroom. You look at egress, plumbing, you look at ADA requirements and the spacing between sinks and toilets, various things. So there's a justification, in trying to work that into the model. So at the end of the day, what I settled on was, again, a permit fee that was consistent with HB 852, which was at 98 cents a square foot, air conditioned space. But again, because of the difference in values you saw sometimes in that square footage, we modified the review fee. So the review fee now became defaulted to a five room, and that's bedrooms, bathrooms. A three bedroom, 2-bath house was kind of the benchmark. Any additional bedrooms or baths above that, then we added a surcharge in the review fee. Again, justified because there's a lot of things you look at in bathrooms and bedrooms that you don't on others. And with that, we came pretty close to what we had been generating just across the board with the other methodology.
Square footage.
The square footage, yeah, well, the valuation methodology, right. Yeah. We also looked at the reality of what we felt with the reality of the future was that we were going to begin to see all those shovel-ready subdivisions and lots that were further south start to hit the market, as most of our infill lots were going pretty rapidly and even faster now. And so we also wanted to weight that revenue stream to what we really anticipated the future was for the city, at least the next 5 years, perhaps even longer. That's important, again, because I probably should have stated this up front, is that the idea behind the department and all of the permitting and inspection fees is to cover the cost of the operation of the department, not necessarily to be a moneymaker. In fact, actually, it's somewhat precluded from being that, but it needs to cover the cost. And that's a piece of admin that takes the fees. That's a piece of the utilities that pays for our section. Of course, we thanks to you guys, we added another permit clerk. We added another position. So all of those things, again, we had to factor in, which at the end of the day will probably result in that. The best of our analysis, the increased revenue stream that will support all that. So I gave you an example of what the basically where the rubber meets the road is the effect it's going to have. And so I took again, using statistical data from what we had, I took a small, what we call a smaller home, 1,400 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, probably for Port Aransas, I'll call it our affordable house. And with that, the new permit fee, like I said, actually decreases $15 with the model. You go to the kind of what I looked at statistically as kind of our mid-range house, which was a little bit larger, but a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. So now you've got a couple rooms larger than your benchmark house. That ended up in an increase for that property of about $243. And then as you got larger, the 3,000 square foot house, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, and again, these are all typical examples right out of our data. Yeah, they would see an increase of about $712. So that's kind of the basis and kind of a rambling explanation of how we got there. To come up with something that the legislation said we had to do, but that was at least a way for our market to generate essentially the same amount of income. Actually, I'd say the same amount. Actually, an amount of income with things that we've added over the last couple of years, personnel, the space we took on, our piece, our share, the building department share of utilities, the other staff. I think even David's, a little part of David's salary gets put off to that. So this, we think, it will generate the amount of revenue to offset all of those expenses. So I'll stop there and answer any questions. The other fees were simplifications. Given this model, we actually looked at it going to the same route with plumbing, electrical, mechanical, the trades. So we just went with a flat fee, a flat square footage fee, which was again based on an analysis of everything that was being done separately, averaged it out. That was the cost per square foot that was coming out consistently for electrical permits, plumbing permits, so it's a lot easier on them. And then a couple of fire review fees that we'd added in, again, mostly because of the complexity of new projects we've seen and the new fire inspections and requirements that they have on them.
So the building code states that your fees for your building department, they can't grossly exceed, and Rick said it earlier, what your total staff cost is. And that includes your rent for your space, your utility bills for building department, all of Rick's staff, a portion of my staff because I get involved, a portion of Cindy's staff who does billing when they come out of the building department, they go to Cindy for payment.
Part of Darla.
Review, so small portion of Darla. So we get to attach any of those costs. We come up with a large number, and then we have to somehow figure out and model our entire permitting process and our fees to cover all that cost. Now, we can be a little bit over. We can't be grossly over. It can't be like a big money-making machine. It should come in just enough to exceed that total cost, and that's where we feel we are. Adding new staff, fire marshal in the last couple of years, who's doing all those reviews. So we feel that this will, take the place of our former methodology of valuation, square footage calculation, and meet the new state.
Your question, did the House bill affect commercial or just residential?
Just residential, new construction.
So we're sticking with the same commercial fee schedule.
Correct. And there was an exemption for, so that what they did is again, and we know what happened was that, these $1 million houses that had 8 inspections, that was the same number of inspections that the $500,000 house had. And so these guys, got together, lobbied and said, well, how come we're paying so much more? Well, that's probably a valid point. However, that's still, we still have to generate the revenue stream. So again, that's why the convoluted, and it's not terribly complicated. Our system, we'll simply will give a total to the contractors we do now.
Wasn't this the Houston guy?
We think so, yeah. Yeah, it was. And the other thing, they exempted properties that for FEMA purposes had to use that, because you remember when we go back to all this substantial damage, substantial improvement, that's absolutely based on value. So for the properties that we have to analyze based on that and determine that, those were exempted out because they had no choice but to do that. But like I said, I think this gets us where we need to be. We haven't, I'm in my 8th year, we haven't had a permit fee increase in my tenure here. So, I don't think we had a permit fee increase.
Thought we did.
Thought we did.
And it was probably about 3 or 4. It was probably right after the hurricane. Because I know we redid almost the entire fee schedule.
Because we've been based on the same percentage of the calculated. We've added some penalty fees for working without a permit, but.
And it's possible. I thought we adjusted some of the buildings.
It's not been around a long time, so maybe we're getting confused.
Well, here's where a lot of the we increased our impact fees. So the cost, we increased our roadway impact fees and our project dedication fees, which completely separate. Those haven't changed.
And subdivision fees have been changed.
Yeah.
I don't think our permit fees really. It's been that same model first.
And it's very possible.
Impact fees changed.
Sure.
Did we not have fees for swimming pools? There's a lot of red for swimming pools. I was just wondering.
Swimming pools we were required to do a separate permit, but we didn't have a separate pool permit fee.
Okay.
So, and then we had there was electrical and plumbing involved in pools. Sure. So we just did add-ons for those, just pulled that out separately and had a swimming pool and the add-ons for those. And just some of that we just relocated to make it easier to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you see the residential review surcharge. Those are parts of that aggregate model, because we couldn't put it in the square footage, just do on the 98 cent because that didn't then differentiate between the more complicated houses that usually had a higher value. So we'd end up penalizing the more affordable places. So we think it works. We'll give it a year and we'll see.
Okay, any other questions?
What were the adjustments at the mechanical permit fees? There was a lot of red.
We just went to just a per square foot basis. Yeah, I mean, our electrical permitting was based on the number of outlets, the number of ceiling fans, and Abel used to sit there and spend an inordinate amount of time counting them. It was crazy, you know, when it was a $245 permit, you know, and anyway, so that was just crazy.
Any other question? I hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Mayorperson Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Fallon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes. Item L.
I think I'm done.
No, you got the last one.
Oh, man, do I?
Item L is a resolution awarding a request for a RFP for Ansel Brundrett Memorial, Roberts Point Park in Charles Pasture, pier reconstruction to Derrick Construction, amount of $3,157.47, runs from Hurricane Harvey account number 999, authorizing future budget for fiscal year 2020 and 21 budget, and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents.
Ben, are you with us?
I'm here. This is Ben Castleberry with Broadus Associates and the Disaster Recovery Group. So this is to award the construction for Roberts Point Park Pier and Charlie's Pasture Pier. The Ansel Brundrett Pier we're going to deal with in the next resolution, but we have to award this entire contract in this resolution to begin construction at Charlie's Pasture Pier and Roberts Point Park Pier. And all this, it's anticipated that the construction will be fully reimbursed through FEMA.
So we're still, as Ben said, so we're still working with the GLO and the Corps on adjusting the length of the Ansel Brundrett Pier. So that was ongoing while we bid this. So in the original bid, you'll see it's for all three, but the next agenda item backs out Ansel Brundrett.
Right.
And Ben, do we bring it back at another date, or do we do a change order for that one?
We're gonna have to rebid that one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to rebid
It's
it
gonna take the time to go through the core permitting.
right, because the size is gonna change and length and number of pilings, everything's gonna change. So we're gonna rebid that one.
Sure.
So this agenda item is approving the original contract. Item M will be doing a deductive change order, removing Ansel Brundrett.
Now, I guess I read that and I was like, I kind of understood why we're doing that, but is Derrick okay with backing out almost half their award for not doing what?
We spoke, sorry to interrupt you, Bruce. We spoke with Derrick Construction, and we got confirmation that he is fine removing that piece of this bid, and he's willing to move forward with Charlie's Pasture and Robert Point Park as he bid those projects.
Okay.
Those costs.
Yeah, well, is it?
Well, the otherwise we pull the whole bid.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
you risk not getting two piers.
Right. Well, I understand that. It's just one of those deals that it's like, you know, maybe the thing of he already has equipment over here and he may not get the thing. So anyway, I was just curious. Like I said, anyway, that's fine.
Well, each pier had its own mob and demob built into it. So he's removing that mob and demob out of it.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a good time. So funding, are we any luck there? Or, I mean, this obviously it's going to be a $3.8 million deal. I know it's going through FEMA, but are we getting any funds from?
Oh yeah, this will be 90-10 money with with the state picking up 75% of the city's 10%, correct, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second it.
call the roll, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Fahmy,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Whedon.
Yes. Okay. We could have done both of those together. We did.
Well, I mean, I'll just read it and I'll,
No, we need to do M.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you gotta read it, sir.
Okay, M is a resolution authorizing deductive change order for Ansel Brundrett Memorial Pier, Roberts Point Park Pier, and Shirley's Pasture Pier reconstruction, awarding to Derrick Construction Incorporated by removing Ansel Brundrett Memorial Pier from the project, approving total deductive in the amount of $2,173,070.07, authorizing future budget amendments for 2020 and 2021, a budget in the amount of $3,830,095.40, and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with said order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Call the roll?
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
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 Fahmy,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Whedon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item N is a resolution awarding request for an RFP for Charlie's Pasture temporary bulkhead repair to Shirley and Sons Construction Incorporated in the amount of $1,880,000. Funds from Hurricane Harvey account number 999, authorizing future budget amendment for 2020 and 21 budget, authorizing city manager to sign all documents associated with said contract.
Ben,
Yes, this is Ben again. So we've been experiencing land loss because of the blowout at Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead. And as a temporary measure, as we finalize some of our mitigation along the Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead, we wanted to close this blowout to prevent additional land loss in the nature preserve. So we bid this project out or advertised it. We got our requirement of at least 3 bidders, and Shirley and Sons was the lowest bidder at $1,880,000. And this project will be reimbursable through the FEMA Harvey Recovery Program.
and part of this, even though it says temporary bulkhead, we don't remove all of it. Part of this becomes part of the permanent repair also. So it's not like we're spending the 1.8 and then coming back, ripping it out, and then coming back with a brand new, the final product. This gets worked in to the final bulkhead repair also.
Is this going to be like just like say like rock or crushed concrete or?
What are they doing for an
So we're doing, the best way to describe it is reinforced sheet piling. So this instead of just doing temporary sheet pile that you would do if you're doing the permanent bulkhead, we're taking that temporary sheet pile and we're putting back bracing on it. And then filling it with a little dirt so it can withstand a longer duration of time of the tidal effect.
So this is, if you guys aren't aware, this is where after the hurricane flooded into the town from the bay, it sucked into town and then it came roaring back out. And as it roared back out, it swung around the nature reserve pavilion where it always does historically, and it blew out through the bulkhead, and it blew out probably what has it been, about a 200-foot section?
Yeah, it's increased up to about 300 now.
Right. So, and then it's been increasing. So that's where this is. It's to temporary sheet pile that opening so that we can then come back and start the permanent project.
But it's just the one opening, it's not both of them?
It's just the one opening. GLO is doing the second opening that is in the revetment.
Okay.
So GLO Coastal Kepler Division took on that project for the city.
You can go through one and back through the trails and out to the other one.
Correct. So GLO is waiting on us because their project is ready, but they need trucks to be able to get through there. So we got to get our project in first, then they can truck in their rock. Once we build our project, rebuild some of the land that was behind it, and then GLO will be able to start their project, which is the rock revetment repairs to the 2009 rock revetment project that spanned the whole length of Charlie's Pasture.
Like
from
the
the
rocks,
from the end of the concrete
Heard
to
us.
Piper Channel.
Is it going to be rock like the subdivision in front of Charlie Pasture?
Now, if you mean the rock that the GLO is going to do, it's going to match. It's going to match the existing Charlie's Pasture revetment rock.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's some pretty good.
Yeah.
Works. Rock's better than the bulkhead.
Yeah, rock's better than the, yes.
Yeah, I mean, rock, the good thing about rock is it dissipates waves.
Yeah.
A little bit
We need
better.
substance to
It's more,
break the waves.
yeah, it's more habitat. I mean, it is
There's
a better
so much
product.
dirt
Yeah.
right there in front of the,
How long is it gonna take, Ben, before we get that in there?
So we have to finalize some of the permitting. Let me quick it. We're looking to be able to start construction in December.
And what was their days that Shirley had on their project? What was it? 80 days. It's 80 days of construction time, Joan.
Great, that sounds good.
And then, Joan, I don't know if you've seen it, but we also did a temporary bulkhead repair directly behind the pavilion for emergency erosion costs. It's probably about a 200-foot section.
Yeah, I saw that when I went fishing the other day. I saw it.
Yeah.
Glad to see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Councilmember Conline.
Yes.
Councilmember Hart.
Yes.
Councilmember Owens.
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Mayor Leon.
Yes.
Motion carries.
O is a presentation by Brodus and Associates will provide a presentation on Hurricane Harvey recovery.
So this is Ben once again. I'm going to start with the current construction that we have going on. Roberts Point Park, we have the bulkhead has been completed and the sidewalk that runs along the bulkhead, it is completed, approved, it's open to the public. With Robert Point Park, we finished the small pavilion, the observation tower that were part of this contract. The only part of this contract with Island that hasn't been completed is the emergency boat ramp. The articulate block that went in there, it got some damages to it. We're working through that with Urban and Island as a corrective measure. But outside of that, all the public accessible pieces of that project are open for the use for the public.
John, you're on mute.
Thank you. Ben, I see that big granite rock out there is still all messed up in the front, and I saw people out there trying to fish on it. Is that ever going to be straightened out where it's been moved so badly by the water?
Yes, that's the articulated block I was talking about. We're working with the manufacturer, the Urban Engineering's working through it, and Island we're trying to create a solution to solving it so that when it's done, the next time we're done with it.
Joan, are you talking about where the walk-in is?
I'm talking about from the water. There's big granite boulders that are up there.
Close to the ferry or closer to the observation tower?
Close to the observation tower and past that around the end.
Yeah, I think I don't think that's in this project to go out and recapture that granite. Ben, she's talking more in that corner towards the Roberts Point fishing pier. There's a bunch of granite.
Oh, where the bulkhead transitions.
Yes.
Usually we would have a pier and people would be fishing off it. That's why I think people are.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a project, Joan, that repairs that granite.
I don't believe there is, but Joan, let me do some more looking into that and come back to you next month with an answer to that question.
Thank you.
No problem. Next, the Chamber of Commerce building, Barcom is finishing out the punch list. Those items, they have about 2 weeks left of work to do at the chamber, and the chamber is going to start moving into that facility October 26th. Jerry McDonald Ball Field, that project has been completed and handed over to the city of Port Aransas. So that project is 100% complete.
Great job on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great. Mr. Parsons alluded to this. We installed some erosion protection measures in the nature preserve along where the large pavilion is. We installed some riprap there. That was completed since the last time we've discussed. We've discussed the temporary bulkhead. We're working through permitting, and permitting should be completed in December for the temporary bulkhead. And construction of that should be starting in December, maybe early January. The piers, Charlie's Pasture Pier, Robert Point Park Pier, from the council meeting today, we're going to move forward with awarding that. We have to have our final consultation with the National Marine and Fishery Services. They're reviewing those projects right now. We're supposed to have that review done by the end of October. So with that, getting the core permit from after NIMS, the Marine and Fishery, once they've approved it, we're looking at we can start construction there in December. The high pressure gas system running along Highway 361, that bid is scheduled for, that bid opening is scheduled for next week, October 22nd. It's currently advertising. So next time we discuss, hopefully we have good numbers, good turnout, and we can award that project. So that's where we are on the construction side. Design, we are awaiting the fire station response from FEMA, our first round of appeals. That response we should have by the middle of November at the latest. So I should have, I should know what FEMA's response is next time we talk. For that project, it was asked last time, what's the discrepancy between what the JANAC and our team has worked with and what we believe the fire station should be. And we believe that with codes and standards, best practices, that the fire station should be 10,500 square feet and will cost about an estimated cost of 6.4 million. And currently FEMA has the facility for the fire station at 6,100 square feet and 2.1 million. So that's the discrepancy we have right now. It's about 4,300 square feet and 4.3 million. And one of our big discrepancies is the cost is price is high right now. Lumber is skyrocketed, steel costs are skyrocketed, and we need these factors to be part of our discussions, because once we move forward, we're capped at whatever cost has been agreed upon or given to us. So that's where we are in the fire station. Public safety building, we're waiting on a formal appeal, a response for that project. That should be coming soon. I believe FEMA needs to give us a formal response by the first week of November. And when we're looking at that and the discrepancies, we have the city, we believe with codes and standards, best practices, that the public safety building should be 13,400 square feet. And FEMA is currently saying that the facility should be built back at 11,800 square feet. So, and that's a 1,600 square foot difference. And the differences in cost are the city working with Janak, we're estimating that the project will cost around 10 million, and FEMA is saying that the project should cost 4 million.
Because FEMA doesn't build in Port Aransas.
Yep, it's the cost of building here, and it's also just the cost of material right now is through the roof.
They're out of touch.
Yeah.
We
147 a square foot for, jails and bath, just no way.
So then what?
That kind of construction.
So we're at an impasse. So what's the next step? I mean, do we have to haggle over that for 6 more months, or how do we get past that?
They have to answer the appeal.
The appeal, right?
So if the appeal fails, if our appeal fails, then we go into an arbitration. Is that right, Ben? You want to jump in and discuss?
So if we're not satisfied with the response, we can request an arbitration. We're anticipating that this may have to happen, and we've already started figuring out with COVID how this arbitration is going to happen. Usually our arbitration is in person in Washington, D.C. They've changed policy recently where the arbitration group will come to the city, or at least come to the state to listen to, the appeal and go through that process. But with COVID and, we're trying to see how the FEMA is handling these arbitrations. I'm not exactly sure that process right now with this, the circumstances we're all living in right now.
Yeah, these might be some of the first appeals and arbitrations coming out of Harvey.
Well, I hope if they come here, we put them up nicely and take them out to dinner every night.
Well, it'd be nice if they would show up here, then they could see.
Yeah.
I'm going to find the place with the most mosquitoes, and I'm going to give them some tents.
So our appeal deadline is November, right?
Yes.
On both okay. So maybe we'll know something.
November?
Yeah.
They have to respond. I believe the response I have on my date here, the response for the fire station, they need to be responded by November 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And our formal response for the public safety building needs to be in our hands by November 6th.
Yeah, so at the next meeting, we'll know what their response was on both.
Good.
This may be a dumb question.
And what our next path
But
is.
we're mentioning cost of construction, and of course FEMA dragging their feet and prolonging it with change of adjusters and everything else. So what kind of increase are we looking at based, like when this process started? We had a number. Now with the cost of construction, them dragging their feet, how much of the 6 million, how much of that is increased because of their delays?
So a good example that the cost factor and what this has come into is, it's not these projects, but a good example is this temporary bulkhead that we just awarded. When we first started with the temporary bulkhead and Urban was talking to local contractors about installing sheet pile and what that cost may be 2 years ago, we were looking at the estimated cost being around $400 per linear foot. When we started having those, when we readdressed and rediscussed this with local contractors, 18 months ago, 12 months ago, it was at $2,000 a linear foot. for temporary sheet pile, which is steel. And when right before this bid, we were talking to some contractors and they were saying it's $4,000 a linear foot right now due to the cost of steel.
Crazy.
10 times increase.
Yeah.
Or
Is the highest it's ever been, I think, in the world of lumber. I don't have the exact cost there, but it's, you know, it's probably one of the hottest commodities right now.
Thinking of the arbitration for some big.
And believe me, every week at our FEMA meeting, we stress to FEMA, you guys have delayed this, and look what the cost has done. They don't care because it's the process. They're more concerned with dotting your I's and crossing your T's than looking ahead and projecting. You know what? If we fast track this thing and just figure this out, we could save the federal government millions of dollars. That is not how they operate.
No,
they do not operate like that. They say, well, we have to have this study and this group needs to analyze it, and they get 90 days, and then it comes back, and then it needs to go to these people for 90 days. They're more concerned with sticking to the letter of the law than projecting about how to save funds. That is not in their game.
You don't get fired when you follow the letter of the law, but
that's right.
But you don't save money either. So
crazy, but true, right, Ben?
I've been doing this for 7 years, and the way FEMA is these days, it's never been, you know, I thought it was slow before. It's worse now. And, you know, David is spot on, but he forgot to add that every 3 months, a new team comes to look at our project, and we've had to start the whole entire process over with a new group of people, re-educating them. They have new ideas that they want us to deliver to them. And it's just been beyond frustrating.
And Ben, Pete Gaynor has fixed none of that?
He's inquired, and the local region has basically said, we've got 90 days to respond, and that's what we got.
Okay, taking all 89 of them.
Well, they need to pick a new chief then.
And the region, which is, you know, FEMA's headquarters that operates really the Texas area, they put the shackles on the FEMA local division in Corpus Christi, and what they're basically doing is they're saying, well, Corpus Christi can't make any decisions on anything. It needs to be made in region, and region doesn't make any decisions. It just it sits on their desk in a stack of papers.
Go get
and
it
they're
back.
not really doing anything to correct it. And you know, we've talked to Gaynor, we spoke to Tony Robinson, and you know, we're continuing to do that. We have not stopped, you know, showcasing the inefficiencies, trying to get everyone involved. We've got Senator Cruz involved, and we're getting everybody any way we can to say, hey, FEMA, you know, what are you doing in Port Aransas? Because it sounds like you're doing nothing.
The good news is that the broadest team, we're making progress. We're bringing in construction projects. Yeah. We're getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. We're building. We're slowly getting there. We're down to really fighting over 2 buildings, but everything else, we've checked off a lot of boxes. Yeah. So we're slowly getting there. It's been painful. And, you know, these 2 buildings are going to be the last things that we check off. But, you know, the piers are coming, gas lines coming, Roberts Point, bulkhead, breakwater. I mean, we're getting there. It's been painful.
On the temporary facilities, you know, like the police in those areas, there's some maintenance issues and some upkeep problems. Who does that? Is that the people that we release the buildings from? Or?
Ben, what is when we have maintenance on like the temporary police building, who do we charge that to?
I mean, that has to, at this stage, when I looked at the lease policies, the manufacturer installer It was a 1-year warranty where they had to
Yeah,
come.
they're
in
almost all over. Yeah.
At this stage, it's on the city to
Yeah.
maintain.
I mean, the good part is they picked up the facilities to begin with.
Yes, FEMA has.
Yeah.
So how is, just across how are the temporary facilities? Are we planning to be in there for another 2-3 years realistically? Are they going to survive? We have to go spend much money getting new
I don't
replacements?
think we're gonna have to spend a bunch of money. No, like we got a leak over at the fire department, but it's Band-Aid stuff just to get us through.
Sure.
We'll cobble along.
We'll go get a new water department building.
Yeah.
Man.
Can we share the building with them?
That thing's
Holy moly. I want a building just like that for fire
Anything else
and.
on your agenda?
The Charlie's Pasture, wait, I don't think we've talked about the gas system with the award.
Nature Reserve.
Did we talk about the gas system? We talked about the gas system before with the award, yeah?
Yes.
We didn't do Nature Reserve boardwalks and trails.
Yes, okay, yeah. The Nature Preserve, the South Trail, we have started that design. Urban says that they can complete the design for the South Walkway in November, have a design done with that project. And we are now engaging the permitting side of it. So we had a meeting today with the Corps, with the National Wildlife and Fisheries to start the conversation so that they can start looking at the walkway and the permitting process so that hopefully we can get that thing in construction soon, that South Walkway.
And hopefully that won't be too painful. The original 2007 Nature Preserve project, we did all the boardwalks through a nationwide permit. So it wasn't an individual permit, like a 2-year permit. As long as you elevate a certain distance above the wetlands, you can build the boardwalk through a nationwide permit, which is basically a letter to the Corps. The granite decomposed trail portion, it transitions back and forth. That's all built on uplands. So as long as we're staying in the same footprint and we can go back with a nationwide, we think that permitting process, well, FEMA is involved, so I'm sure they'll come up with some pain and suffering, but it's not like it's an individual permit.
There'll be some additional reviews with FEMA and engagement, but the Corps was on the call and like they said the exact same thing David said, that it should be a pretty painless process on their side.
And then we'll do that one, and then we'll follow up with the other boardwalk from the main pavilion to Salt Island. That one is held up a little bit though, because you got to remember that phase of the trail goes through the area that the bulkhead blasted through. So we got to wait a little bit for that repair to come in before we do that part of the trail system.
The water. Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be huge.
Along with where we're working, we've requested from FEMA, we're waiting on a response. They issued an RFI for some additional questions yesterday, but we're asking FEMA to replace the lost land at the nature preserve due to this blowout and the causes of Hurricane Harvey. So we're working through that request, and we would like, ideally, FEMA will agree to restore the nature preserve, and it'd be nice to do the boardwalk and that restoration at the same time.
Right.
And the last item is the Harbor Master Building. We worked on a couple items, and we're submitting that to EDA for their final review and approval. I'm not expecting them to say, we're not expecting anything bad from them. We think we'll get approval from them in the next couple of weeks so that we can start moving forward with Janak Architects doing the final design for that Harbor Master Building. And currently with funding, in the last 4 weeks, we have not received any funding, but we have $2.4 million in requests to the state to finish processing for payment and we've been paid 21.9 million to date.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, and don't get discouraged. We need you.
I'm fighting every day.
I know. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
I appreciate your patience.
Tell the guys thanks
Yes, thank you.
and gals.
Thank you.
How many people
Just think
think
half his
that?
working life, he's worked for Port Aransas.
Okay,
We're just
item B,
building.
discuss and take action to appoint members to the Airport Advisory Board.
Okay, one of these is disqualified due to he is
Right.
not a he's not a registered voter. So the only one that you could vote for if you wanted is Stephen Wilson.
Okay. Well, we got a spot, so we just put Stephen Wilson on number 5.
What, Mike Dayon, he lives here, though, he's a permanent resident, he just hasn't
He doesn't-
transferred his
Yeah, but if you look at his
residency?
application, it says non-voting,
I saw that, but,
which DQs him, because if you look at the ordinance, the city ordinance says must be a registered
Right,
voter in the city of
okay.
Port Aransas.
and you verified he didn't pick that incorrectly? Because he's lived here he's lived here for a while. I mean, not years, but I mean, his kids are in school here. He lives here. He lives in, he's not, you know what I'm saying? He's not an out of towner that's just pretending to live here.
No, I actually picked him for number 5, but if he's disqualified, then I'm gonna just motion to, I guess we can call him and ask him, but
I checked his voter.
He's not voter.
You did check.
then he's,
He might have another home and live there.
Right.
No, he did. He recently moved to Port Aransas with his family, but he does live here. I know he's a permanent resident.
he's got to change his voter
Maybe
registration.
maybe he has not changed his voter registration, but he might have in the recent days leading up to the election. He may not want to go back to Austin or wherever he's from to vote, so I don't know. I just was wanting to make sure that we did verify and that it wasn't like a typo, because sometimes
Yeah,
people do a
she
typo.
ran verified.
Like I said, I do know he lives here, so.
Okay.
Got children in schools and everything, so.
Well, I'm nominate Steve Wilson for spot number 5.
Steve Wilson, I do not know. Do you know him?
No, I don't
He
know.
says
him
he
either.
went to school here.
I don't know him
Does
either,
anybody know him?
but he's the only one of the other 2 that applied and it's an open spot, so by default, he gets
But
it.
is there,
He's lived here only 6 months. He went to come back.
did you verify his voter's registration as well, Fran?
But we don't have a term like we do with planning and zoning or DOA for them to live here for.
Oh, no, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. Okay, so, but we still need a position for the alternate?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, what you can do is we can
Can
call,
we put Mike, can we vote to put the other applicant in the alternate spot if for some reason he does change his registration, or do we have to come back then and ask for an alternate later?
You have to come back in.
I think we have to come back as well.
We'll hold his application because he may, if he goes and votes here, he may transfer his voter registration here. If he does that, then he'll be eligible.
I just think that needs to be something, when someone applies and we receive their application, we probably need to verify that immediately and let them know that that's going to be a disqualifying factor.
Yeah,
And that way it never gets into the packet, right? Because that's not fair to somebody. I don't know, maybe he applied yesterday or maybe he applied 3 weeks ago, but we need to let them know when they applied that that's a disqualifying factor.
Yeah, we discussed about getting Stephanie set up with all the rules of each board so that because there's a whole bunch in here that are DQ'd.
Yeah.
Now, some of them are different because some of them Stephanie can't figure out on her own because they're attorney general.
No, I understand.
Also,
But something like that, because that guy might have gone and said, oh, okay, well, I need to change my voter's registration anyway.
Well, as they come in to apply for certain boards, you could have a check-off list to verify with them, you are this, you are that.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Well, I will say, in the city's defense, it is a generic form for all these different things, and the rules
Are
for
different for
different
each
things
board.
apply differently, so.
Correct.
I'm not complaining, I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying, I just
Saves
think
everybody a lot of work.
No, I agree. We need to do a better job of DQing people right off the bat because it's not worth getting into a huge discussion at council over it.
Nope.
Nope.
So are we
Yeah, well, motion is for Steve Wilson as number 5.
The other thing you guys have the option of is just say, we don't want to select anybody. Go figure out if Mike can change his vote.
No, I mean, that's fine. I don't have a problem moving forward with the
Yeah.
motion. I just, anyway.
I agree with you, Wendy. He was my first pick, but I didn't realize he was not qualified.
My second
Apparently has
motion.
lots of other qualifications, doesn't he?
Yep.
He looks very good.
What was the motion?
Motion is to make Steve Wilson number 5
What was the second?
from Wendy.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Zalnine,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
All right. You discuss and take action to appoint members to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
So Lisa Shelton is a scratch.
Yes.
So you have place 1 is open and alternate is open. And you have 2 candidates, Tina Grosclose and John Morris. What is John on?
What about
He's,
Larry?
he's
Fox?
alternative on the BOA.
Lisa did.
Isn't he running for the water board too?
Lisa did send me an email, once she realized that there was that conflict of loyalty, serving on the school board. So she did ask that I tell you that she requested that her name be withdrawn until she is eligible to serve and would like to in the future. Like I said, she did send that late in the day.
What other board is John Morris on?
He's
Alternate on the, Board of Adjustment.
he's asking for a full-time position.
He's not on PNC, no.
No.
Is Larry Costa DQ'd or?
Larry's a DQ because he's only lived, well, Larry's a DQ at P and Z and BOA because he hasn't lived here for
2
a year.
years.
Yeah,
So our choices are John Morris and Tina Gross.
Yes.
correct. So,
And there's 2 places open.
Yes. So there's no-
well, you have one's an alternate, one's place 1.
Okay.
And we have, just FYI, we have, Stephanie did today, go back and post notices for all these positions again, just trying to get more applicants. So again, I think David mentioned the option would be, if you don't feel they're qualified, anyway, it's a tough deal. mean,
I know. I
it's
think-
tougher than ever trying to get,
Yeah, ever since
I think it's our
always been-
approach though. I mean, I know they advertise in the Jetty, but it's like the same, it blends in with everything else in the Jetty. I read the Jetty every week and I don't know what the answer is because a lot of times when, I'll hear, oh, well, let me know when something's open. I'm like, they had those elections, the business people and other people, that are busy, they're looking through it. Is there a way, I mean,
I was gonna talk to Dan and ask him if he's done it.
like do a story and just, and when these, because is there a timeline, like how our election is May and November? Is there a timeline with these
No.
boards? No, it's just
No,
whatever
typically,
time when.
We don't
Summer,
try
July,
to do too
summer,
many of
June.
these at one time because you get spread very thin.
Yeah.
Usually we try to do them between June and August.
Well, some of them appear that they have some kind of date, like July, they'll say July 2020
Yeah.
or whatever, but I have a question. So if Lisa had a conflict serving on school board, if Mr. Morris, who I know is seeking an election to the water board, if we were to appoint him on BOA and then he were to be elected to the water board, which would be the same for Joellen Kruger, if we were to appoint her to Marina Advisory and then she be elected to the water board, does that then present a conflict and they're automatically DQ'd for their position?
I would have to run it in front of Mike, but you have to analyze what the position is. So like, for example, with Lisa, the issue was if she's sitting on P and Z in school board and someone wants to build a bar near the school and comes in for a
zoning change,
right. That is who's she going to be loyal to?
Right.
She's going to be loyal to P and Z or she's going to be loyal to the school. So
Sure.
it's the loyalty test.
Yeah.
On true governing.
Sure. No, I get it.
So So like Marina Board, and the other issue with P&Z and BOA is those both have the ability to not just be advisory, but to actually approve something.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas the Marina Board is strictly advisory.
Sure.
They have no power.
Okay.
So that loyalty conflict is lessened because that board doesn't have any authority. And then you look at, okay, would the Marina Board and the Water District ever have any kind of conflicting business? Which I don't really see how they would. But I think because of the Marina Board is a much lower tiered board than say P&Z, due to the fact that it just doesn't have they're just strictly advisory. So,
Yeah.
but we would analyze it, but I don't think they would.
Okay. So, and then taking that into consideration.
John could probably sit on both.
Okay.
Even though it was on the board of it, BOA and on the was it water board?
The water board. I don't think there would be a conflict. But
And we don't know
look
what
into it.
the water board,
Yeah.
they may have their own set of conflicting rules.
You're right.
which-
They might.
Yeah.
Well, should we punt or should we make nominations? I have some people picked out.
That's up to you guys. I mean, you only have
Well, there's
two.
only two people, so.
Right, but I
think
mean,
you just-
one of them's gonna put them on there, and then
Or
next
we
2
go
weeks later
after
he
the
gets
subcommittee and make
he has to resign. We
a
haven't.
story and
Sure.
why you should put your name and do civic.
I think
Go. Okay.
it's.
I think you got some people. Where
Yeah.
I'm probably
Sure.
I
Okay.
hate to turn people down.
Okay. So I have position number 1, John Morris, and alternative is Tina Gross Close.
I support that motion.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Dion.
Yes. Okay, next item.
Francisca, will you change this screen?
Okay, now this one needs a lot of work here.
Well, let's say what it is first.
Okay, this is go ahead, Mayor, sorry.
Discuss and take action to appoint members to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
No, we just did that.
No.
No, Charter Review Commission.
Charter review.
Discuss and take action on appointing board of members to the Charter Review Commission.
Okay, so draw a line through these three people: Charles Ray, Betty Turner, Chuck Borders. Okay,
Yeah.
they're gone.
I didn't even know.
Some of them are really gone, but
Yeah.
we're deceased. So currently you have Jim Atwell, Charlie Zahn, and Betsy Churguys, whose terms did expire in 2019. Those three are seeking reappointment. There are no additional people. So we still have, even if you put them on, we would still need a fourth to have a full board.
Well, no, you need 4. You need another one just to have a quorum.
So we can replace these.
So we still need 2 more on this board. If you chose these 3, you would still need 2 more.
Okay, I would say.
Can I nominate them right now?
Yeah.
I would say this is definitely an article for like Dan Parker to write, because this is like, Constitution of Port Aransas kind of deal.
Yeah, the thing about the charter review is we did a big charter review back in, I think it was Kovacs, and it must have been about 2007, 2008. The problem with this one, why this one's so difficult, is that changes to the charter go to the voters.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's not a simple.
And so it's not a light lift.
No, I understand.
And typically those recommended changes come from council to the charter review committee to kind of give them some parameters in their marching orders, and then they take it and roll with it, and it kind of bounces back and forth, and then it goes to council sets it, it goes to the voters.
Right. Well, I mean, when was the last time the charter even met? Because it looks like they have an 8-year term.
I think they met, but it didn't go to the voters back in 2012, 13, maybe.
So it's like they
But
meet
nothing went to the voters.
every blue moon they meet.
They usually you fire them up when you have changes you want to make.
Sure. So basically we still have time to fill out the board because right now I don't personally have any charter amendments I'd
Isn't
like
there
to
a
make.
time thing that we're under the gun on something because they at least have to form and,
They have to meet at least every 4 years regardless.
right, they have to meet and we haven't hit that.
Can we nominate, can I make a nomination? And then we'll fill the
You
other
got to call them and
seats
have them fill out a form, I think, but yeah.
No, she
No,
means,
I mean,
she-
as we're-
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to make a motion on the ones that have applied.
Sorry,
I would
yes, I'm
like
sorry,
to
misunderstood.
nominate Jim Atwell for seat 1, Charlie Zahn for seat 2, and Betsy Turgide for seat 3.
Works for me. I'll second that.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Lehman.
Not real sure right at this point.
You can vote no, sir.
All right, I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Hey, where are we at now?
We're in S, sir.
Discuss and take action to appoint members of the Library Advisory Board.
Okay, so place 1 and 2, you got Rick Calkey, Carol Lee Kreider. Both have been on there for several years, both seeking reappointment.
Easy.
Reappoint them.
I'll second that.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
so passionate. Like,
Yes.
I know, right? We gotta have to find some more library lovers.
Okay, item
They're so passionate too, which is amazing.
T.
T, the Marine Advisory Board. Tell us a little bit about that, David.
Okay, so we have 3, of course, we created this board. I believe we fired this board up last fall. We created it. We met January, February, then everything went on hold with COVID, and we just started meeting again. We met last month, and we have another scheduled meeting next month. It's going good board, all very knowledgeable Marine people. So there's 3 seats up. When we created the board, 3 seats were only going to be a 1 year, and 2 of them were 2 year. So there's 3 seats up, no new candidates, all 3 original members seeking reappointment: Jerry Webb, Chris Fox, Joe Ellen Kruger.
Okay, motion.
Motion to reappoint them all.
Call the roll. There, second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, call the roll.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Lehman.
Yes. All right, next item is to appoint members to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, this is a punt because both of them
Yeah.
are
DQ'd.
Yep.
DQ'd, ineligible.
Now, I would say didn't we get some extra applications in July or June or whatever it was?
If they were, they either got appointed to other boards, like I know Mallory got appointed to BOA.
Okay.
So we'll start from scratch.
Okay.
So we have two seats open for P and Z.
2 seats open, and we already got the ad going, or it's going to be going out Monday.
And I'll see about a story, see if Dan.
Yeah, Dan
About all
Parker.
of these, but
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe new blood will come in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So
Or old blood. I want old and I like him. Any
I'll quit
blood.
council and
As
I'll
long as
join
it's
P and Z.
breathing. Yeah. No, but yes.
Somebody should put it on Facebook. That's where they look.
3 spots on P and Z.
Who was the other spot? Who am I missing?
Oh, excuse me. Did I
There's
say?
only one
Oh, we
spot.
had
Only one
I'm
spot.
sorry.
Applications.
Okay.
Right, we had two
I'm like,
applications.
Is somebody else quitting?
Yeah, we
What am
had
I
two-
missing?
We
Okay.
had two applications,
One spot.
one opening.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Got me a little, you got.
I led you down the wrong path.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna hear about it.
Never know.
All right.
Available on DOA.
Next item is the action on short-term rentals and parking issues.
Shannon,
Yeah.
this is Councilmember Shannon's agenda item. She came in a couple weeks ago. We discussed it, and I think Shannon had come in a couple years ago.
Yes.
I'm not sure when that was. Was that pre-Harvey or post-Harvey?
Post. No, pre.
Pre-Harvey, yes. It was
Pre-Harvey.
probably around
So,
15 or 16 maybe, when we were discussing, I think it was right, I think it might have been prior, Rick. Do you remember when we created the short-term rental? The short-term rental program would have been the last time we discussed short-term rental parking. And it must have been around, I'm guessing it was around that time, Shannon, that you came in and discussed it.
It was. And the story hasn't changed. Back then, we discussed that there is a loophole within our ordinance that allows people, because of the wording of it.
Either put a mask on or we're gonna have you leave, so. All right, all right, let's go, cops. All right.
Okay, let me start over.
Now, can we explain what just happened?
Fran asked him to put a mask on. Number one, he's not even supposed to be in here. Let's lock the door.
Yeah, it's gonna say the sign on the door
Who
says,
is that?
My neighbor.
Okay. Is that Charles Plunkett?
no,
No.
it's,
We'll discuss it.
You would have been more than 10.
Okay.
Okay, back to the discussion. When you read I need to take this off for just a second.
it's okay. I got my mask
Okay,
on.
the ordinance, the idea that I have, we're looking at a loophole that is in our wording in the STR ordinance. The way that it reads is 2 adults per bedroom plus 4 with unlimited children. When you go to log on to Airbnb and you're booking a room, it is sleeps 20, sleeps 15, sleeps whatever, and they ask you how many adults, how many children. There is no check on that. There's no one comes in and says, okay, you didn't lie, which means that what we're seeing is a house that sleeps 15, even though part of those beds might be segregated for children, are actually getting booked up by all adults that are just coming in and saying some are chill, because no one's checking that. So my proposal would be to change the wording in the ordinance where it states persons versus adults, and to eliminate the children, adults wording entirely. So I would like it to read 2 persons per bedroom plus 4, period. That's going to eliminate some of the parking issues that we're seeing. It's going to lower the amount of garbage per unit that we're seeing. It's some of the overcrowding that we're seeing. And everyone that I've talked to, for the most part, people are following it. It's about the 30%ers that aren't. Those are the ones that I'm focused on really getting them to follow what we designed originally. It wasn't intended to be misused or abused, but it has become that. So I think we can tackle multiple issues with a simplification of the wording.
Now, I'm just curious, when you said 2 plus 4, does that mean like 6 total per any rental unit, or is that just per room?
Two persons per bedroom plus 4. That's the same as we have it now, because we have unlimited children listed on there. And
Well, I was gonna say, because I don't know, is there a legal description of why children are exempted from the?
So this was uncharted territory when we did this, and we straw polled. Again, keep in mind there was no occupancy limits whatsoever. So we polled and there was a lot of pushback. That was the path of least resistance to get something started. the idea and the discussion is that my 4-year-old, my 3-year-old going to sleep in the same bed with me? That was the dilemma. Where do you draw the line? And again, to try to mitigate it a little bit, you notice that we actually bumped the age way down for, am I saying that right? For the definition of an adult.
Yeah.
So I think it was maybe over 12.
Yeah.
Was an adult. I understand. I'm
There's
perfectly
nobody-
happy.
yeah,
I'm
there's
just
nobody
telling you
checking
what we were able to get through at the time, given that this was brand new, and we were telling people you can't put those 20 people in your house anymore. That you've been doing it for a long time.
So
Staff is perfectly happy with whatever you guys come up with. Yeah, we understand. Now, I can also tell you that our position before Harvey with advertising is that, and again, difficult, but we did tell quite a few people as we caught them, you need to advertise the adults because of that same conundrum with children. Advertise the number of adults that you can sleep. But I understand what you're saying, but that's the genesis of it, is it, again, you count that 2-year-old the same as an adult. I don't care either way, but that was what we got as we kind of crafted this.
Well, I guess the thing is, so wouldn't there be a limit already with the fire department? Fire marshal comes in and says, 1,400 square feet, you can safely have 10 people in that building or whatever, as opposed to, and the only problem I see with like Shannon's is there are some larger houses, maybe they're like 10-bed summer place. And you're gonna say that you can only sleep 6 people at summer place. I just see that.
Well, it would be a 10-bedroom, so you would have.
Well, I mean, so my question is it 2 plus 4 per room?
Plus bedroom, or 2 per bedroom plus 4. So if you have, that would be 24 people.
Okay. That's why I didn't hear the 2 per bedroom plus 4.
Yeah, it just the same way it stands now, except we're changing the language from adults to persons.
Sure. Well, I was going to say is going from like fire department says now, okay, you have this building has max occupancy of 20 people or whatever number. And they say,
here's that's even a greater enforcement nightmare, because at least with the occupancy, we can go to advertising and see what they're advertising, which everybody is.
Right.
We don't know who's going to show up. So, I mean, at least we've got something to hang our hat on. If they're advertising, no matter what the outcome is of this, is that if they're advertising 12 and there's a whole house full, well, that's easily a violation. Going in and measuring square footage, I can tell you most of the houses will accommodate lots of people from a square footage standpoint.
Well, I said, but you have like a base number of say it's 20 people and then it's like 5 bedrooms. So those, now you're down to 10 people plus 4 is like, I don't know. Just I was trying to think of a way you could cut down to a number. So, because clearly the problem is if you're lying on your application, it's going to involve someone on the ground to come in and say, well, you know what, those aren't kids, or show me your IDs or whatever. And I don't know if that's the situation where the city wants to be in policing. I understand the situation where we have a lot of, you're cramming 2 and 3 families are running a vacation because it's pretty expensive and they're all living in one thing, and that's creating a problem. I do see that I would like to say if you're renting and your occupancy is more than like say 4 days a week, you have 3 trash cans, 3 toters instead of just 1. I mean, I definitely can see that we should force these people to put more trash cans around, because that's a big problem.
Right. I can tell you, believe it or not, we get pretty good compliance. Carla is on with that 1 hour notification. I mean, with that 1 hour response call, she does it. And like I said, we actually have a lot more compliance than you can. Again, you see the problems, but out of the thousands of rentals, you see 1 or 2 complaints, and not that but we probably have a 98% success ratio when it comes to that in response, because they only have an hour, and she's quick with the citation book. And like I said, usually they'll respond because everybody's property managed. The occupancy deal is just one. And again, our enforcement is basically problem driven. With the ordinance in place, if everybody's cramming people in there and there's no additional cars and there's noise, no problem. But
let me interrupt you for a second.
Yes, sir.
Fran, is that door locked out there?
It is, yes, sir.
Are all the doors locked?
Yes, sir.
Is this one locked out here?
This one is.
The one out front?
Yeah.
Yes, that one takes.
But at least we have something, if we do have a problem property that, you know, they're getting calls on, then we can go back in and investigate that one and determine there's a violation. So, you know, it's only the problem ones that ever kind of come up. So the ordinance in a big sense exists to give us teeth when we identify those problem properties. But you're right, more and more people are coming, more and more people are bringing cars. Then they're renting a golf cart on top of things. And the, you know, we solved that in part by the new parking ordinance that are a few years ago, but it wasn't retroactive. So all the houses that only had to have 2 at the time, with a 5-bedroom house, the rentals have just exploded, and those, like I said, those are grandfathered with respect to parking. So occupancy is part of a solution to parking, but re-education is probably another effort that we've just got to do better, you know, not having them bring the cars.
Well,
And we have no public parking, which somebody asked me the other day.
that's another issue that we're having, is that our street parking is presumed public parking. I know because as I'm working, there's literally streets that we cannot get through on weekends at all to service. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And what I'm finding is it's the same houses over inundated with 15 cars or whatever, which is telling me that it's not 11 and under that are staying there in the 20 sleeps 20. That's where I think we're having a real issue is it's people are not following what was the intended purpose. I understand that kids wouldn't make that much of an impact, but I'm not seeing like a bunch of kids taking up the space. I'm seeing an over inundation at one particular house that should possibly have been 2 rented houses and kind of spread out.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a question: are we making a policy for one particular property, or is it just like, can we just start hammering enforcement on that one property to solve the problem?
It's pretty widespread. I mean, in my opinion, I'm seeing it more and more. Especially this summer. The summer was particularly rough. It was different.
So why don't we do this on this? Because we're not really sure how frequent this happens. Why don't we, Shannon, why don't you do a study on that? Come back with us with the details next.
I mean, I'd like to meet with you and kind of tell you the backstory of where we got. And if it's time, given the current situation and the popularity of Port Aransas and probably our likelihood to continue popular, I've got lots of data and stuff that we've used.
Why don't we do that?
I mean, if you'll come and talk with me, we'll craft something that
I can. But like we pointed out, it's been 3 years. It's not gotten better. There's nothing that's improved. Right. It's gotten worse.
Well,
so I think it's time that we took a
Bruce, why are you fighting this so much? Why, I think it's a good idea. Why don't we at least consider it in a positive way?
I'm not fighting anything. I actually agree that there's a problem. I just think that there were situations there, extreme circumstances, like the beach was closed. People were parking on the sidewalks this year or parking in things, but I'm not fighting it. I'm not against Shannon or anything on this. I just want to make sure that we're not making I hate making a civic law where you're making one law to attack one property because they're not in compliance. I think we think
this needs more study.
The one thing, and I'm going to change it, I really don't. I would, when you do the research, because I think in the problem houses you're talking about, I think, because I remember when we went through this ordinance, and I think the 2 adults, +4, but children had no count. I think part of that was because of the bunk room debate, right? Because I think it was like, well, you're going to get these big houses and they're going to have, or whatever the size house is, I don't care, but they're going to have 2 like sleeping rooms and you're going to get 2 adults in there with 1 bed. And then you're going to have these 2 bunk rooms. And if we limit 2 people in there, well, what if like Rick said, what they all have 4 kids, whatever. So I would be interested to find out in kind of the research of the problem ones, if it's a 5-bedroom house, is it a 5-bedroom house that has 4 bedrooms with 1 bed and 1 bunk room that has 4 beds that 8 adults could sleep in, or is it they've got 3 master suites and, 16 bunks or something like, because I think that's what happens is you get those houses and you're right. You can put 20 some odd people in there and they're going to pack them all in because it's not just space for little kids. I mean, they got space for all
And
kinds
there's
of
no
people.
check and balance too.
No, you're right. I mean, and it all goes down to enforcement, right? I mean, we
We
can
don't
make
have the ability to.
all the rules we
enforce it.
want, but
I-
enforcing it is an issue, yeah.
Let's do some research on this, because I remember when we suggested this before, I almost got run out of town, so I.
I mean, that's the thing is, this is not going to be a popular decision. We come back and say, like 2 + 4 for each room. You're going to have people in here who are like, y'all are like taking away my livelihood and
Boy, it comes deep.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I
So
mean, that's kind of why it is now. That was actually a little better than we'd hoped to get on the books to first go
Well,
at it.
in my opinion, there's a quality of life here also that
All brought up.
I'm
at the time.
representing,
I'm
and it has
I'm
gone
sure.
way downhill. So
I'm not
also became-
disagreeing with you. I agree. There's definitely a problem.
It also culminated again, I think, we became the 3rd most popular destination in the country
Mhm.
because of the virus.
Yeah.
And that exasperated the situation. Like I said, the ordinance had only really been in place barely a year when the hurricane hit.
Right.
That changed everything. And no sooner do we start to get the units rebuilt, just start re-registering short-term rentals, then the virus hits, which kind of counterintuitively brought more people here. So
Yeah.
anyway, but
let's get
together.
Yes, we can do that.
It's worth a revisit.
Yes, thank you for bringing it up.
I mean,
Yes.
everything's worth a revisit.
Right. And like I said, I'm not fighting on this, so don't take it that as at all. I know the fight we had before, and you just getting the registration done was a big push.
Big issue.
It was a big push.
Well, I'm ready for the fight. So.
Okay.
She's fresh blood. She
There you
is.
go.
She's got it in her. That's good.
She's not worn down yet.
That's
Not cynical.
That's good.
Not cynical like me.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why everyone should have new blood.
All right.
Where we be?
We are on V, sir.
W, resolution
Oh, W, yes. Wow, even I'm behind.
I know.
entering into a memorandum of agreement with Nueces County for our community and development block grant, CDBG MIT funding. Authorize the city of Port Aransas to be a joint applicant with Nueces County for granting funding for the installation of living breakwaters, setting responsibilities of each entity, term fees for services and reimbursement and miscellaneous provisions, directing the city manager to sign said agreement.
So this breakwater concept has been spearheaded by the county and Judge Canales. So if you look at page 5 of 8, it's kind of got a couple different conceptual designs, but it basically protects the private marina subdivision, more particularly private road A. So the city at this point, it's a couple $1 million. It's a good project. My only concern is that the city should not be on the hook for future maintenance, which this thing could require a lot of future maintenance.
Yep.
I mean, any storm could take this thing out. And at first the response was that the city would be on the hook. And I said, then we're not going to approve it because the city should not be on the hook for a breakwater project in front of a private subdivision that's for their benefit.
Right.
It's just not how
Private beach.
anything should
Yeah.
operate in the city.
I see that.
So the response back from the county was great. The county will take on
maintenance.
the assumption of the maintenance. And then they sent us the agreement, and the agreement mentions nothing about maintenance. So we went back to the county and said, hey, in order for the city to approve being a support partner we will not be, I mean, you guys can vote how you want, but I recommend that you can pass this support, a resolution of support contingent on, with the condition that the city, that the MOU gets redrafted and that there is a line in there that says the city is not responsible for maintenance. I don't care if it's the county or if it's the private subdivision, but it cannot, in my opinion, it cannot and should not be the city.
I agree.
Great project. You know, I know that private road A has gotten beat up over the last, 5 years. It's very susceptible to wake, to damage. It's been eroded pretty bad, and it definitely needs help. So I'm glad the subdivision is getting some help. It just needs to either be the subdivision needs to be on the hook for future maintenance, or the county who's spearheading the project.
So we can approve the support for such a project, but not
Yes,
the
sir.
maintenance.
Well, you put the motion.
Subject that the memorandum of agreement between the county and the city clearly states that the county is responsible for future maintenance of the breakwater.
Okay.
And really, I mean, I guess all they are asking for is like our support.
Correct.
Well,
we're technically an applicant. The
So
city and the
we have to
county.
be together, joint applicant with them. Is that right?
Yes, it's a joint applicant. The county is the subrecipient,
Mhm.
but we are attached with them. But we will not be on the hook for any funding. We don't have to put anything up front, and we're not responsible for maintenance. I think the funds have to go to a city or county.
Well, we need to get some CBG money for
Yeah,
other
but I just-
areas of town.
I just don't trust being in Corpus because it's like they're like, oh, we're going to sell you this, and then they're, oh, we're going to use that money for something else.
Well, it's pretty specific. I mean, this project, I mean, they can't, if they're successful in getting the grant money for this project, they can't turn around and take it somewhere else.
No.
Okay.
So David, did the subdivision go to the county and ask for this, or how did it?
Question.
Joan, I don't know the full story behind that and how this came to be. You can't see it in this picture, but very near that point towards Klein's Landing is an old breakwater that used to protect ship wakes from rolling into the
Klein's Landing.
private marina
Thing.
subdivision. And they came to the city about 6 years ago and wanted the city to rebuild it. And we said, we started looking into the history of that breakwater, and we discovered, oh, that was privately built between Aransas Harbors and Klein's and the private marina. And we said, hey guys, that's a private facility. You guys did your own core permitting. The city's not on the hook to repair it. So they went looking for funds elsewhere. I don't know what happened with that project, but somehow this thing appeared, and I don't know. I believe it's members of the HOA.
You have some heavy hitters who
that partnered with the county judge and came up with this idea. Great idea, great pot of money. It's just we shouldn't be on the hook for maintenance.
Mm-hmm. And there will be maintenance.
And there will be maintenance. This thing will get blown out in a storm. This thing will get blown out in a storm, and we don't need to be a 25% responsible party for getting it rebuilt.
And how are we, so they're going to give us back a contract saying that?
Well, yeah, we're going to, what I said was to pass the motion of support and for the city to enter into the memorandum of agreement, condition that in the memorandum of agreement, it clearly states the city is not responsible for any funding or maintenance of the breakwater.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then I will make that motion. I will make a motion that we approve the memorandum of agreement contingent upon the city not responsible for any maintenance on future breakwater repairs.
Or cost of construction.
Or cost of construction.
Correct. Yeah. Any funding.
Any funding.
Second.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Fallon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Mayor
Yes. Yes. Staff reports. Staff report?
You'll notice that there's no financial, and I apologize, Darla's had a rough, kind of rough 14 days, rough couple months, and she was in today.
Oh, good.
She was feeling a little bit better today. She looked great. But anyway, she just after the post medication stuff, just kind of, not completely out of the weather, and just we'll get it to you guys, and just be patient.
If she is able to get them before next month's meeting, can we get them in advance?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's kind of over the hill on what was hurting her, and she's feeling a lot better today. So
No rush, but if she
hopefully
is,
she's
that'd be great.
on the mend.
Okay, how about the police report?
Police, no police.
Chief's on report. Hey, Chief.
Yeah,
We
I'm
didn't
here.
here. He's here.
Fortunately, September was a pretty routine month. Nothing major to report. The things we're working on right now is we have some interviews today, and we've got an applicant that we're going to extend the job offer to. First qualified applicant we've had in 3 sets of interviews. And then, of course, the bars are reopening, so we're having to move schedules around here at the last minute. We've been staffing heavier during the days than we have at nights because the bars have been closed. But now with the bars reopening, we're shuffling things around again. And other than that, looking forward to a manageable fall and spring.
Yeah, we'll see, Chief.
Yeah.
So, real quick question, Chief. I've been hearing rumors that several colleges are already canceling their spring breaks. I don't know if y'all have heard that,
I've heard
but
it.
several major universities are canceling spring break. So, I know that's probably a nice break for the police, but not going to be a great thing for our merchants and our business owners around here. So I just wondered if you had heard anything else or what anybody else had.
Yeah, we've seen not total cancellations, but definitely reductions to just a couple days. Our big draw here is really more local than it is national. So most of the people that come here from spring break are from the Coastal Bend, Austin, San Antonio. So it's I think more contingent on the high schools than it is going to be on the colleges on the impact on the crowds. We've been seeing a reduction in crowds for the last 4 years anyway. So in fact, Lieutenant and I met earlier today, and we're talking about putting together a modified schedule and cutting back a little bit during the weekdays. Weekends are still busy, but we've seen pretty significant drop-offs on the weekday crowds in the last 4 years running.
And when you say weekday crowds, meaning of the true spring break people, there's probably still families attending the beach and things like that.
Yeah, and it's, since we put that alcohol ban in, we're starting to see a transition where we're getting more families and fewer of the partiers. But the word's not out completely, and that may be something we ought to partner with the chamber in December or January and start pushing Port Aransas as a family-friendly spring break alternative, as opposed to South Padre or some of these other big party cities.
I meet with Brent on Tuesday, so I'll talk to him about that.
Yeah.
But I do know Texas A&M zapped their spring break.
That's what I heard.
They basically, because they extended Christmas break so long that they're trying to recover those student days.
Yeah. Well,
What's the parking, stopping, standing on a sidewalk? I mean, I get it.
There's a lot of those.
There's 39 of those.
Chief, in here, Chuck, what's standing on sidewalk?
The parking, standing.
Blocking a sidewalk.
Some of those parking stats are based on when the citations are entered into the system and not necessarily when they're written. And those are the people that were parking on the sidewalks during the beach closures.
Yeah.
And so they're just catching up in the municipal court with the data entry on those.
Chief, I have a question. What do you put under when a golf cart's driving on the sidewalk? What does that fall under?
659.
Yeah, there's actually a golf cart on a sidewalk arrest code in there.
Oh, there is?
No, it says operating a golf cart on highway, but I was curious what they are when they're actually on the, is that same thing?
What do we do when they're on the cart path, chief?
There's actually a separate code in there for golf cart on a sidewalk.
Okay.
No, I don't see.
I just didn't see it
There
in
may
there.
not be any
Maybe,
citations listed there, so they're only showing the citate or the codes that had citations written this year or last year on.
Oh, right, okay.
okay. Well, I just was curious.
How about, it's right here, drove golf cart on sidewalk.
What number is it?
Where's that?
It's 15A, I can't make out the first number. Fourth up from the bottom,
Oh, yeah, there it is.
drive golf- okay, there, yeah.
Golf cart on sidewalk.
I guess it was the ord part.
615A. Maybe.
Okay. Thank you. I missed that.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Ed, you got any words of wisdom from EMS?
You get an award.
Yeah, you get a word for sending them up.
Give that man a raise.
I'm just doing reconnaissance. I'm going to be here next month getting approval for a purchase.
Oh,
No, we're doing good doing EMS. It's really helped it.
Ed, can you come up and
Yeah,
and
just-
speak here so Joan can hear you, the Zoom people can hear you? And you gotta speak, kind of get close to that microphone.
My name's Edward Jimenez. I've been with you guys for 5 years. EMS. I'm currently the interim director of the EMS. I don't know last time you guys got a report, but we've done well through the COVID because of Chief's suggestion that we expand our sleeping quarters. We did take on another building, and we were able to have some crew separation, and we've all stayed very healthy. Call volume wise, we're about 870 for the year, up about 9% from last year. So it goes along with that steady increase that we've seen ever since Hurricane Harvey. Give you an example, pre-Harvey, we're at 1,000 calls this October. So we're still down about 14% from where we were then. But otherwise, didn't have a big uptick as far as the COVID goes. I think it was just a lot of people were more afraid of going to the hospital and stuff. But despite all the early cases we had for the city, I think we managed pretty well as far as people not calling, staying in and staying separated. But other than that, we said we will next month we're bringing you. We did get approval for purchase of an ambulance, and so we're getting our bids right now redone, and we'll be bringing that next month. And they look a lot better actually than whatever was given to you previously, so it'd be a good thing.
No red ambulance.
I'd say number one is their paint scheme and no Old English font.
I've already busted them for that.
Blue and lots of Marlins and
Maybe
Port Aransas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe we'll get a good price where we can redo that one
Well, we'd
with
have to
the
do that.
wraps and all the uniforms.
Well, that's good because I think we were going to get some advice on the color scheme, so we'll,
Yes,
we'll
please.
definitely get you on that. Other than that, nothing else. So
Thanks for taking over.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out for 2.5 hours of
Oh my
more of your life.
well, I got a call earlier that somebody in the community might have called in to give us some kudos to make sure it was here to.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
How's
that's
morale
awesome. Yeah.
doing with everyone with the EMS?
I'm sorry.
How's your morale, your
Great, actually
team?
great. I haven't seen everybody's pointed in the same direction, and I haven't really seen as much cooperation and out of everybody. And it's
You guys do a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yes,
I
thank
count
you.
all the lights as they go by.
yeah.
They wake me up.
Oh,
But he's not complaining.
And now they're gonna honk.
because they're down your street. You're right.
You honk sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Wake him up.
Get out of there, old man.
It's that four-way stop by your house.
Yeah, I know.
No one wants to stop the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Poor thing, 2.5 hours,
Let's approve the
5 minutes of fame.
minutes of the,
Do we approve the minutes or are they just, I think they were in there for reading, right?
Yeah, they're
this
just in
is
there for reading.
Thank you for putting them in there. I
Yes.
Yes, I
appreciate
did.
that. I did read them.
P&Z, yes.
I
Very
did,
helpful.
I did read
It
them and I
is.
did already find
Especially you can see
a
the
discrepancy in them, so.
Oh, no.
city
Yes.
council comments.
I only have a few. Oh, you go first,
I
Mayor.
have one. I want to make sure you're all aware that on the 22nd, we will have an on-site
Yes.
groundbreaking out at our workforce housing. Be 3 o'clock. There'll be parking and there will be tents and refreshments.
Okay. I tried
Already
RSVP and
replied. Say that again. The 21st?
22nd, Jenny. 3 o'clock.
Second.
Hey, Joan, you probably got an email, and if you're like me, it went to your junk email. And so you can RSVP to the actual invite, but I found it in my junk email.
I actually I hit the button and it did not go anywhere. Just so I was going to say, if I haven't RSVP.
Okay, I'll check on the,
Can you add me to the list? Because like I said, it didn't work
Yeah,
for me.
add me. I can't,
It
this
worked on
button's
mine.
not working. I might
What's not
neither.
working?
When
My button.
it had a little link said press if you want to RSVP, and I clicked on it and it said
RSVP.
like Java void or whatever and didn't go anywhere. So
Yeah, mine's not clicking either. So
Okay.
RSVP me.
All right,
please.
I'll call them
I'm so
tomorrow.
excited. Every time I drive by, it just,
it's going up quick.
it's awesome.
Yeah, they did flat work the other
It
day on
is just
the,
incredible
the
how fast
entry
they must bring
building.
their own team down.
Drive out there and take a look.
I do.
I drive by
But
every
only
day.
by the fence.
Oh, no, go inside.
Really? Can I go
I go
with you
inside, yeah.
sometime?
Yeah, we'll take you. We have hard hats.
I want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be careful, you have to have a
I
hard.
really want to, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can get a tour next Wednesday or Thursday when you're out there.
Yep.
Are we on items to consider?
Yes.
Yeah, still, yeah,
I just have one thing I want to share, that's all.
yes.
Everyone was familiar with the bag poles, and the bag poles got taken out by Hannah and people and everything else, and they just disintegrated. This is our new sort of design. It's not quite done.
Can you?
It's made out, I'll pass it around.
Sure.
It's made out of aluminum. It's got room for the signs that are going to tell you what to do, and it'll have a spring-loaded lid on the top. So the bags are literally just going to sit in them. You pull one out.
That's awesome.
KPAB, a member of KPAB, has been working really, really hard with a local steel fabrication guy. And so he's got the pricing and everything else. So this is, if you want to look.
That's
at it,
awesome. Are you
I'm
gonna-
very, very
You should
excited
get
about
a
it.
people
yellow bag, right? The beach
sponsor.
bags?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Good.
it's finally, and they'll connect directly to the bollards, so we don't have to dig more holes or put any of that up.
Not that, we want to, blah, 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 but a good idea to fundraise is to say this.
Sell them. Sell the
is,
poles. Sponsored by.
We can't post on the sign because of the sign rules on the beach, like you can't put sponsored by or.
Like, like this highways,
Right.
not, it's not going to say like, go fishing at whatever deep sea. I'm just saying that. It's not going to say that, but like the highway
I
is
think
adapted.
you can't
this
say
highway-
sponsored by.
I
that's
tried
not-
to do that with my poles and it was denied because of the wording. It was just real specific about what you
But
can
like-
put down there. Colleen went through it,
Regardless,
so.
you
Hey,
can
we
put
know
the Owens
somebody at
family.
City. We
I
could probably.
do. Whatever they
To
decide.
fund this,
with-
who's funding this is what I'm asking.
KPAB will be fundraising and reaching out. I know, I spoke with Jeff with Cinnamon Shores. They wanted to get involved. There's a lot of
Support.
a lot of support.
That's good.
So, and pretty much anyone that's got beachfront access wants to include one in their little area for their people. So,
You can almost do like an art, like at the ferry.
this
I'm
is
sure
a
y'all
very
have
rough
thought about all this.
sketch
I need
of
to-
what the final product will be, but I'm very
Wrap it.
excited because it's steel fabricated and not made of.
That's great.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it.
Okay.
Okay, Ellen,
We
okay.
were-
I have one
we
thing.
were out.
Okay,
We were
now,
fishing
but-
last week. We saw so much plastic and trash all over Harbor Island and all over the backside of San Jose. And I guess all of the high water brought all that trash up and it's
It
just,
did.
Yeah.
Our docks are a mess at
Yeah.
deep sea.
Yeah, it was
Everything
rough.
floating in. Where are we at the harbor renewing the permitting? Have you heard anything back of the marina permit that we've carried?
The 67-acre permit,
The
it's still
67
moving.
It's still moving?
Yeah.
Okay, that was one question. And then two, maybe look at the waste bilge water oil container for the marina.
Yeah.
See what we could do.
Is it?
Yeah,
I heard
we
you
might
talk
have
about. Is it free or do you have to pay it
No.
into?
Well,
It's a GLO program. It is free. However, the GLO often runs into, every year it seems to happen, they run into funding issues and they basically cut the program by just not sending the oil guy. So stuff starts stacking up around, people start bringing 5-gallon buckets and it just starts getting messier and messier because the program
It's
is
so full.
unfunded.
Yeah, it's unfunded and it's always full.
Which is where it's at right now.
So
It's
if you
been-
think about all the big boats in our marina, they need a place to dump oil, waste, bulge water.
Well, could we take over the program and make it charge for it?
Yeah, that's what Dave
I know,
is talking.
and we had a nice conversation. The fear is, well, there's two fears. When there's nowhere to dump oil, certain characters will find a place to dump oil. If you charge to dump oil, certain characters will find a free place to dump oil.
But
So
if there's not a
it's-
place to dump oil.
Right. The best thing to
That's the
do
biggest issue.
is, the marina it has funding to maybe find a way that when the GLO can't do the program, the city steps in and the marina budget, that's hot tax or whatever, steps in and carries the weight for a couple months so that it's still free and there's capacity for people to come dump their oil. Because my fear is that if you start charging, you start seeing a lot of illegal dumping.
Right,
I
but you're
would
also,
say free with a high fine if you did illegal dump.
well, it is already,
More,
if you
It is.
the water.
No, if you get caught dumping
Oh,
oil,
you're in big trouble.
you're in big
With-
trouble, but that doesn't mean you drive out, the end of Ross in the middle of the night and dump a 55-gallon barrel drum of oil.
Okay, Wendy just had a great point, which
What's that?
Kelly has told me about this too, because really looking at our marina fee for such an incredible marina, it's so incredibly low. Our monthly marina fee for boat slips are, $250 a month.
And we're, it's not our place to, whatever, compete with private, enterprise or whatever, but why can't you just, if we can't, why can't you, like you said, absorb it in the
Put a
marine fee?
surcharge.
Put a surcharge.
Well,
You possibly could.
We can't do that tonight.
No, but it's for future discussion.
Because
Like maybe $1 surcharge per slip.
Sure.
We just need to-
Surcharge.
we need to just come up with solutions that
Just put it on the agenda and we'll look at it.
Surcharge on slips.
All right, item number 10 is adjournment.
I'm all for that one. I second that one, sir.
Grey's Anatomy.
Joan, we miss you, Joan.
Sir, there's a thing called a